Sam, open this door.
I would, guys, but sensors are picking up a third life form.
Yeah, Dan's got something attached to his face. We need to get him into the infirmary.
So wipe it off and I'll let you both in. This isn't the first time Dan's caught something out in the field.
Got a thing on my face.
It's not that sort of thing this time, for once.
I'd suggest leaving Dan out there. He's a problem.
Stay out of this, Karen. Sam, just open the fucking door.
Nope, can't do that. YouTube protocols demand that.
It's got its thing in my mouth.
So Marby.
And you smell like wet dogs. Both of you.
Message received. Waking crew from cryosleep.
Top of the morning, my fellow carbon-based human life forms. It's me, totally human Jonathan, your friend. I am awake now as well.
Jonathan's a goddamn robot.
I hope they sent in my warranty card.
Get off my ship, bitch.
I think we're okay.
This is fucking great, man! Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? This is some pretty real shit now, man! Game over, man! Game over!
Crew extremely expendable.
Welcome back to Region Free Season 4, Episode 3. This is the astronomically hot month of August in America, in North America. Darren, what's going on in Britain?
We're basically like, yesterday was the hottest day of the year, so we're going through it. We don't quite have it as bad as you guys, because like, well, in the 80s, like early 90s, it's really hot for here. And yeah, I can't handle even that, to be honest.
Absolutely. I think all of our watchers are well aware of the crew today, with one exception. So, Jesus, could you introduce yourself and explain why there was an extra graphic at the beginning of our show?
Yes.
Sure, I'd be happy to. I appreciate being welcomed here by all the hosts, and my name's Jesus Hernandez. I'm actually the showrunner for a new convention in San Antonio, Texas. It's a horror convention, lovingly, affectionately called Curse City Con. We're going to be having our first show on September 7th of this year, and doors open 10 to 7. Get your tickets now. There you go. www.cursecitycon.com. Anything else I can throw out there? Get everybody enticed with it. But seriously, I appreciate being asked to come out here, and I wanted to share the love and of horror with all of you today.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
And how hot is it in Texas?
How hot is it in Texas? Are we using an analogy of chili peppers from like a jalapeno to a
Carolina Reaper?
There you go. That's a good one. I would say we're probably towards the Reaper side right now. I think last I checked, we already are. It was a cooler day because we didn't break 100 officially, but that's not including the heat index.
We've had it kind of easy this year. I mean, like, I've seen one mosquito this year. Last year was too hot for mosquitoes. There were
Yeah.
no mosquitoes. And it was like, last year was a bitch, man.
Yeah, it was nonstop all summer. I think this month, like, or this year, we had July was pretty easy. We got a lot of rain, but now August is here, and this is literally when the hot as balls is an understatement. We've actually been pretty much baking here for the last week. I know because I just had to spend way too much money on AC repair guy. So
Ooh,
Cool.
yeah.
yikes.
So, how is the journey to the first year of a new con going?
Yeah, let me tell you, it is going relatively well. I think one of the things that when it came down to having this convention was being able to tap into a community here locally that is so much involved in the horror scene. If you've never made it to San Antonio, once you're down here, you'll see pretty quickly there's a thriving horror community, and we've got all kinds of manners of shows and conventions here, and these conventions go from horror all the way to the superhero genre and whatnot. And
Mhm.
so you literally have like different tiers of just whether it's guests or just involvement with it, and so with that being said, we have that supportive community. Uh, Me personally, have been a fan since I don't know whatever childhood trauma I went through, and became a horror fan. So that actually got me going into wanting to share that love of the horror genre in general with everyone here. And so what I did was I got together with a bunch of other supportive. I guess I would call them participants in the horror community in one form or another. And we all thought, hey, wouldn't it be great? From a personal standpoint, I've been helping out with conventions for, geez, probably a couple of decades at this point. I used to contract with San Diego Comic Con and here locally with some of the big names. And so when it came down to it, I love being a volunteer. I love learning about the behind the scenes stuff. And so when this opportunity came up to say, hey, you're in a position to be able to throw a huge party and celebrate the stuff you love. I'm like, shoot, why not? So we ended up getting all together and around September of last year is that's when I think I officially start the clock because it's going to be a year. We signed the contract with the venue that we're going to be at. It's called the Norris Conference Centers here in San Antonio. And when we signed that contract, we knew, hey, ready or not, we're going to have to do something on this day. And so September 7th, right, was coming down, ticking away, and that's when I started mobilizing the team of horror nerds that I am friends with. So if you can imagine, it was almost like this Zoom meeting where there were 6 people together. We all showed off rings. It's like one was the dark side, one was the evil side, and we all banded together, and we ended up coming up with this idea of let's do this with the show. And so the easiest part to this whole journey has been having the passion and the support to do it. That's been the great part. The boring stuff, dealing with budget and finances and all that. I mean, that's a necessary evil, but it's that's actually been pretty easy for us. So the now we get to the home stretch. We're about 3 weeks away, so now we get some of the more interesting curveballs thrown at us. I was actually just yesterday, in fact, was we had one of our headliners, the legendary Greg Nicotero, unfortunately had to cancel due to professional reasons. So we ended up having to replace him with another legend, Mr. Roger L. Jackson, who is, of course, I should need no introduction, but for the two non fans out there watching, he is the one and only voice of Ghostface in the Scream franchise. So he actually is he became available and was able to become now one of our co-headliners. We've got him on board with Amelia Kincaid, who all of us 80s guys will remember her from Night of the Demons. We've actually got some the all of the folks from the Five Nights at Freddy's, as in I say all the folks. I'm talking about all the folks that dressed up as the actual characters. So
Oh,
Kevin Foster, Jade Kinder Martin, Jess Weiss, and I think I am leaving somebody out, and I hate the fact that I'm doing that. But oh, and I also have one of the villains, Cat Connor Sterling. So all these folks were able to come together and represent that franchise. And so yeah, from a perspective of is it how the journey has been, it's really been fun, with some boring and some edge of your seat excitement thrown in there.
Excellent. I think we
Yeah.
all cut our teeth on conventions, and it's always been a roller coaster ride. Like the initial excitement, and then the fear as these conventions become legacy conventions of it becoming kind of the same thing. And I mean, in Jersey, we have 5 ongoing conventions here. Literally every other month there's a horror convention, and as you can imagine, the same guests get kind of rotated through.
Hmm.
It's exciting that it sounds like you're trying to bring something new and fresh, and not just go for the reliable but predictable.
I appreciate it. Yes, thank you. It really was something deliberate. It's a deliberate choice. One of the reasons why me and my fellow uh, compatriots got together and decided to do this convention, we had a very particular vision in mind. And one of them comes from when I used to help out with conventions. I usually worked with the vendors. So, I was the guy that would get there before the doors would open and get everybody to set up and do all that cool stuff. And I would get to watch these displays being built up. And what always struck me when doing that, because of course I was an attendee before that, then I started doing this, I got to see the level of passion that gets unrecognized by the main convention or overshadowed by the glitzy whatever is out there. And then and these are folks, the majority artists, right? They're local or they're regional to that area, and they are by all means talented, gifted people that are sharing their work with everyone. And I took from that experience that they just don't get enough credit. They don't get enough just recognition. So when we were talking about doing this horror show, the thing that really struck our passion was knowing, hey, there's a lot of behind the scenes talent that we want to focus and talk about. And so, like for example, the FNAF guys, right? These are the folks. They're not the big ones that everybody knows by face in front of the camera, but these are folks that are career Hollywood stunt people that touch all kinds of movies, have been across all kinds of mediums, and they really and they're great and they love their fans. And so when it comes down to wanting to showcase that, that was the deliberate part about like the kind of celebrity, if you will, that we were looking for. And then
Mm.
to top that all off, we weren't just happy with the Hollywood celebrity route. We were wanting to celebrate the Hollywood genre. If you look at some of our marketing down here, we're talking about we like to consider ourselves a kickoff to spooky season because it's September 7th. It's close enough, right? For those of us that live this, we know really it's July 5th. That is the kickoff to spooky season. But it's a little bit of marketing there. What is it? Marketing license. There you go. So, but anyway, the the thing that we were going for was like, hey, if this is a genre that we love, we know where if it wasn't written down in the form of a book, it came from a comic book. And so we wanted to give a shout out to that as well. And so we were very fortunate to come across a couple of horror authors that are local here. Johnny Compton, Celso Hurtado. These are folks that have cut their teeth as published novelists. And then we also went for some of the folks that in the comic book world. We actually have, let's see, Shannon Eric Denon, who holds an IP company out on the West Coast, and we also got a local artist, Matt Frank, who's a beautiful, talented, just has beautiful, talented work out there, focused on the MonsterVerse of Godzilla and King Kong. So he was definitely one that I love from that horror element that gets downplayed in those movies, but it's still, I mean, what is it? 100-foot monsters coming at you, right? It's definitely some kind of horror. And then we also got folks like besides Matt Frank, we have Wes Hartman and even a local resident, Austin Rogers here, who's a wonderful artist and graphics designer. Who they're actually all folks that again live and breathe comics, live and breathe horror in one form or fashion. And these are the kind of guys that we want to celebrate and bring out in this kind of event, and for lack of a better term, feature. So when it comes down to having that angle, right, if you will, about what our show is, I like to think of it as that's our mission, right? We want to celebrate horror in all its forms. When we start this year, this is our first foray into it, but as we progress and things work out well, hopefully, knock on wood, we're going to be going into that and really focusing on showcasing that and to give you some of the thought process or some of the inspiration that comes out of this. I mean, we've got a whole genre of haunters out there that do all kinds of neat, crazy stuff. We got a whole industry out there that deals with makeup effects. So it's that kind of aspect, and that I'm really looking to celebrate more each year, as much as possible. As long as people come out and see us and support us, we're definitely going to keep celebrating horror in this fashion.
I'm gonna come back.
Very
rogue.
cool.
Thank you. That's one gal. No,
I know, it's like part of the plan.
yes.
But I mean, I saw some of the vendors that you have listed also, and they do some great horror crafts. I'm like, oh, that's most of where my money's going.
Yes. Like when you look at here in San Antonio, we literally have 1, 2, 3 malls within like a 30-mile radius that do like horror pop-up shows.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and then on top of that, you have like I mentioned, the big superhero genre type of comic book shows that happen at least once a year. We have 2 of those in San Antonio, and so we have a very thriving artist community, a vendor community that just I mean, they leave you pretty speechless with the kind of work that you see out there. And I say that because it's everything from 3D printers to crochet, to just the good old fashioned pen and paper, just with the work that they do. And so some of the guys that have reached out that wanted to join us, we definitely wanted to have a good mix of representation, but we were very deliberate in that. Number one, we kept the size of the vendors relatively small. We were very deliberate in having them fill out an application so we could manage the number of folks and the kind of merchandise that was going to be there. And then to top it all off, we wanted to make sure that the one golden rule that we had in order for someone to vend was you had to be 80% horror. So if your merchandise was horror related, 80%, we'll give you a little bit of a credit or a little bit of a slide if it's rock and roll, metal stuff that you got. I'll accept that as horror. We'll go that route. But that's in essence what we wanted to do. And so the experience that we want to give attendees is, hey, come on in. You can literally find the pops that you're looking for to get signed, the prints that you want to get signed, the shirt that you want to wear. You want to go ahead and find that unique, just weird item that you're not going to find anywhere else. That's the kind of stuff that we wanted to be able to offer there for our attendees.
Awesome. Sam, the question is, are you dressing up for this? Are you cosplaying?
I don't have anything to dress up as. Well, never mind. I can dress up as 11 from Stranger Things. I have the season 3 outfit. I wore that on my honeymoon.
Nice.
Go season 1. Just shave your head and
I'm not shaving my head. Besides, she has hair in season 3.
She does season 3. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, you'll fit right in with one of the big motifs that we're going for is that we got our two of our celebrities, Regina Ting Chen and Randy Havens, which I've already packaged. I just haven't done the commercial yet, but they really are. It's the faculty of Hawkins High. We've got a teacher and a counselor, and
wow.
so
Nice.
so it's like that strikes close to my heart with the teachers. So what I wanted to do was actually just do a little riff on that, and we'll have it going where we're going to be kind of even with the photo op. It's like welcome to Hawkins High type of thing. So if you wanted to go with that 11 and make it seem like you're there, you're set.
It's probably going to be Curse City Con 3 by the time we get the last season of Stranger Things.
I know, right? Oh man. The one thing I did also want to mention, because this is actually, I'd be remiss if I didn't, was our partnership with the Terror High Film Festival.
Yes.
So this one was also, this is included with admission to Curse City Con, just so you all were aware. And then so this film festival has been going on since 2020. At the time, it was only just a streaming festival due to the obvious pandemic. But now, in 22, it did actually screen movies at a location. It was a cool little setup back in 22 where they did it at a haunted house. But this year, they partnered with us so that they could go ahead and actually showcase these films that are horror short films from just amateur artists out there from all over the world. So we actually had the submissions were being held all the way until last week, if I'm not mistaken, early this or like around the beginning of August. So submissions have closed. Right now, the judging is going on. I do know that a total of 25 submissions are looking like they're in the running to be screened at Curse City Con, and out of those 25, I want to say 3 are from Spain, 1 is from Italy, 1 is from South Korea, and I think an English one in there too. So these short films. I think the longest one was like 40 minutes. Most of the other ones are anywhere between the 5 to 15 minute range. And yeah, they're going to be the quote unquote winners. I say quotes because they're going to all of them are being recognized, but we are going to be bestow a best film on there, best director, best creature effects, that kind of those kinds of awards are going to be given out, and but all these films are going to be screened during the show hours at Curse City Con, and we're actually really happy because we did speak to JML Films up north of us in Austin. I don't think we've announced. Oh, we did announce this on the social media, but he is actually going to be exclusively coming down to our show. He's going to be bringing some really cool props, hopefully some actual actors and scare actors, I should say. That's the hope here, not finalized yet, but if it happens, we're basically going to be having a showcasing him and his film, the Relic, on site, and so. Just really exciting stuff to happen so that going back to what our attendee experience is all about, we want folks to come in. You've got your vendors, you've got your celebrities, you've got your photo ops, you'll have your films that you can come and hang out with. Definitely going to be a costume contest at the end of the night, and all between all of that, there's even an escape room thrown in there for good measure. So
Oh, nice.
that's the kind of that's really the all encompassing experience that we want to provide.
Yeah, that's stacked for one day.
Yes. It's funny. We were talking about that journey coming into this for a year. A year ago, it felt like, man, we have nothing. We got to build up all this stuff.
Now
We
you
don't know
have too
what
much.
Yeah. Now we're looking back on it, and it's like, yeah, we're actually having to cut stuff out, and like, well, that's why there's a year two.
Oh,
So.
I can't wait to take my husband into the escape room and have him solve it immediately and ruin everybody's fun.
I wouldn't put it past him, man. That would be funny though.
So we always talk on this channel about supporting the up and coming, the new, the fresh, the exotic, the foreign, the old, the out of focus. So it's hard to get out there and create something new in the genre. There's a lot of obstacles that stand in anyone's way. It's also the most creative time out there. There's more opportunity than ever before, but there's a lot of obstacles. Jesus has gone out of his way to create something here, and he's doing it with passion. So if you're tired, I'm not picking on other conventions, but if you're tired of what you've been experiencing, you need to take a break for a couple of years, maybe, this is a perfect opportunity to support something that's getting in the ground level, that's not cynical, that is doing it still with a lot of love in the heart. It's not just a business. This is a good chance to support and get out there and see people who probably don't have the exposure. They're not doing the touring to every con. So this is exactly what we always talk about wanting. It'd be a shame if you're in the area for you not to support this con. Sam brought Jesus to us. Obviously, geographically, that makes sense. But it took exactly like a second to say yes. Because, especially where I am, I can tell you that the convention scene needs to be etch-a-sketch shaked up and let settle again pretty badly. So I'm just jealous that he's half a country away. So please, please, please get out there and support. It's one day. It's not going to break your bank. Well, it might, but who cares? This is going to be the funnest way to break your bank known to man. And the important thing is keep pushing to get something fresh and new out there, and keep supporting artists that are still passionate. Jesus, how does everyone out there find out more about the convention, get tickets, etc.?
Awesome, thanks. It's definitely www.cursecitycon.com. all together, one word, no hyphens, nothing. It's just pretty simple there. Landing on the page, you'll see right away you've got our banner and you've got the tickets link there. You've got a photo ops link there. We try to go ahead and actually we even pretty much beyond that, if you go on social media, it's just Curse City Con. Do a search there, whether it's anything on Meta or TikTok. We're even on X a little bit, but that's pretty much how you can reach out. And definitely, I say we're a team. This really is a passion project through and through. All of us have been doing that, have been excited in one form or another about horror, and over the years, especially as we cut our teeth on at conventions, we've always said, "Hey, we should do this and we should try this." And this, if you guys get to experience it, even if you just look at the website, that's just the tip of the iceberg of the crazy ideas we have that we want to pull off, and the way we want to recognize this. Because I was very deliberate in saying we want to throw a big ass party, and we wanted to celebrate horror, and there's a lot of neat ways and a lot of obstacles to overcome to get to that point. But the way everybody can help is just by supporting the show, whether it's definitely the purchasing tickets, or you could just share, spread the word. That's always going to help out, and definitely get the attention that we need.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We don't really normally push businesses really on the show, but this is a worthy one. So thank you for being the exception to our rule.
Well, thank you guys. It's y'all's generosity and Sam for support. That's definitely something that's appreciated. I definitely am making sure that as a team, we want to be able to provide that kind of support as well, paying it forward with others. So by all means, you guys want to reach out again. If you guys want, I can't pay for your airfare, but if you want tickets, just let me know. But definitely, I appreciate just the opportunity to come out and share this little project of ours.
And thank you for doing so. We will keep in touch, and hopefully we will see you many, many more times with many, many, many more shows.
Let me know, man.
Making the time to come, because I know that you're super busy.
Yeah, so if you definitely, this is just the home stretch, but come September 8th, I can rant for hours on end, so I'd be happy to do that
Oh,
again.
fucking hey, yeah, we'll get you back on Cheeby Jeebies. We'll do another episode, or we can have you on Region Free. I don't care. Either
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, y'all take care. All right.
Cool.
Have a good one.
Bye.
And good luck.
Yeah, good luck to you.
Yeah, good luck, man.
Yes.
All right. So coming back from commercial break.
Hello, I'm Karen, the ship's central computer interface. Karen isn't an acronym, it's a way of life. Our panel's first topic for this evening is Pass the Curse. You've seen The Ring, right? Movies in which curses must be passed on from one person to the next. That sort of thing. I hope you enjoy the segment, even when Dan is talking.
Oh, man.
Karen's a bitch today.
I know, right?
Oh, she's just getting started.
Is she better than Hal?
A Karen haircut on the megaphone now.
I'll take Hal. I'll take Hal any day.
Well, but by the end of the season, you may regret that decision. So, for a lot of people, Ringu was, or the American remake of it, was kind of an introduction to the idea of curses that get passed along if you want to survive them. But it actually is a very old concept in horror literature, going back to either, depending on who you choose to go back to, either to M.R. James casting the runes, or to Robert Louis Stevenson's The Bottle Imp. But we have had films before Ringu that dealt with these concepts. The thing about it is it keeps coming up because it makes a lot of sense narratively to give a goal of how to survive a curse, but also make the curse powerful in that you can't defeat it. You can only move it on to the next person. So do you guys have favorite films that follow this pattern, or do you think this is a good storytelling technique? Do you think it's horrible? Go where you want with it.
Well, I do have, I think, one of my all-time favorites, not even just listing it as a curse film, and that is Night of the Demon or Curse of the Demon. If you haven't seen this movie, I do consider this one essential. It's based on the M.R. James story, Casting the Runes, and it's from director Jacques Turner, who was an RKO icon and Val Lewton's go-to on such classics as Cat People, Leopard Man, I Walked with a Zombie, Comedy of Terrors. One of those names, really one of the greatest horror directors of all time. And this movie, it was shot under the title The Haunted, and it's also known as Curse of the Demon, if you're confused. Same movie. And it was kind of a troubled production in a way. There was a lot of tension with the writer Charles Bennett and Jacques Turner, with the producer Hal E. Chester, who wanted to show the demon in the movie. And you can kind of make an argument whether that was a wise move or not. I think it's pretty iconic. I mean, it captured my imagination when I was younger. It's quite amazing. Ray Harryhausen was initially approached to create the demon for the movie, but he was busy on the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. And this movie to me is just pure gothic horror perfection. I referenced this one in Burn, Witch Burn a lot, and of course Black Sunday. This is right up there with them. It is a movie for all the fighting, to the point that I think it was Charles Bennett who said he would shoot the producer if he ever saw him in his driveway. And at the end of the day, they put out this all-time classic. It's always sad because it's one of those movies you'll bring up and you're very lucky if the person has seen it, because it's just, if you have, it lives up to the hype and then some. And I think it's aged really well. It's one of the best of the 1950s, and I wish more people would give it a shot. It really is something special. It's moody, it's atmospheric, it's genuinely scary, and they don't make them like this anymore. I really hope you guys check it out. And if you're not region free, it doesn't matter, because this is a region free disc from Indicator, and it is packed with special features. I mean, like I said, a lot of interesting behind the scenes stuff going into this movie. Dana Andrews, the imported American star, was at a time in his life where he liked to drink. I think he fell off a train at one point during the filming of this movie. And at the end of the day, I mean, for all of the drama behind the camera, they put out something that I think will live on forever. And also, very much the creature you see in the film. The final scene in this is just wild and just action packed, and I would recommend this to just about anybody. If you're making a Halloween list and you want to try some classic horror, and I know a lot of you out there in the 1950s aren't exactly your thing, this might be the one to give a shot to, because I really do think you're gonna like it. And Lauren, I know you've seen it. I don't know if the rest. Yeah,
it's in my top 40 films. It doesn't quite break the top 20, but it's in my top 40 films. I mean, you guys know of this film, even if you don't know this film, because Rocky Horror Picture Show's soundtrack, and Dana Andrews said Runes gave him the runes, and passing them used lots of skills. It's reference to Night of the Demon, but it's such a lyrical film, which is kind of the Jacques Tourneur thing. Really is. A sense of rhythm to a film that allows all those tense moments to become even more tense, because it's almost listening to music. I think it's also one of those films that proves my point that sometimes studio interference creates magic.
Yes.
Because if this thing was allowed to be too pure, I don't think it would have endured exactly as well as it has. It has one foot in classic British ghost story with M.R. James, and it has another foot into something much, much, much more modern, even maybe postmodern. in that it has a cynical streak to it. The final gag on the train with passing the rune, which I did not ruin anything, by the way. When you see the film, I have not. It tells you where it's going very early on, but is brilliant and cagey and would work if it was filmed today just as well. I will say that Danny Andrews too, his performance, maybe because of the alcohol, I don't know, doesn't seem as much like a stage performance where you're projecting to the back row. It's actually a very restrained performance for the era. And I just think it's one of those films that the reason it's classic has nothing to do with the genre. The reason it's classic is because it's a moment in time where something could have been created, and it had the perfect infrastructure to create that thing. It might have been painful to do so, but it could have happened right there. And my analogy would be the original Alien. If you think about the original Alien, it's a monster on a spaceship, right?
Yeah.
I guarantee that can go wrong way more ways than it can go right. And it could almost never come out like the film we got in 79. But the right people at the right time with the right commercial sensibilities and the right studio pressures and the right actors in the right place. And you got this wonderful monument to what's capable in a horror film. And I think
and writers. I mean, this was a rewrite by Cy Enfield because the producer thought it was too British. So you're kind of getting a hybrid of different philosophies and styles in the movie. And it really does age well. And Niall McGuinness, who plays Carswell, one of the all-time great screen villains in a horror movie. He's just amazing. A lot of people know him as Zeus in the original Jason and the Argonauts. He is just pitch perfect in this movie. The scenes with his mom, and again, it's genuinely a scary film. How well it's aged is amazing to me, and I hope you guys will give it a shot this Halloween. I always put over Black Sunday, but this isn't too. This is pretty close to that quality. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out. I haven't seen that one.
You will love it, Dirk.
You're gonna love it.
I can guarantee this one.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's played on UK like TV
all the time, right?
Back in the past, all the time. And I've kind of gone into it and just seen bits of it here and there and kind of pieced it together. I have seen the ending as well.
So good.
But yeah, I'll have to sit down and give it a proper, watch.
Yeah.
Dirk, do you have a favorite Pass the Curse movie?
I wouldn't say favorite, but like I just decided to bring this is a little nostalgia kicked in, and no, it's not the shirt I'm wearing. So, but I'll never forget this when I saw this in the video store back in the VHS days. It said banned in 72 countries or whatever the hell it was. That's The Beast Within. I think that's what it was.
Good one.
And I was always like, it's a were cicada deep down south Mississippi.
Yeah, you heard that right.
Down south Mississippi in the swamplands, and this curse is passed through rape, and it's kind of like but then it's the cicadas. There's like 12, or two different types, 12 years and 17 years. So this something happens, and the son is born, and he's turning 17, and
going through some changes, as Black Sabbath said.
Yeah, it's a coming of age story too. But no, it's brutal as hell. It's well done. And Tom Holland's first big assignment. So his next assignment after this was Psycho 2. So yeah, it's kind of a big deal. I mean, it didn't get the notoriety in the theaters, but it was a huge hit on VHS, and it's if you've never seen The Beast Within, I'm sure everybody here has. I don't know, but
no, I've not seen it.
Haven't seen it, but it was free on Tubi, so if anybody wants to watch it,
yes,
it's damn, and it's got the bladders. There's a scene where it's like the transformation scene, it's got the bladders, the early special effects, kind of like in the Howling. I believe it's the same type of. I can't remember. I should have wrote that down, but the damn special effects guy. But yeah, it's a great one.
It's also based on a book, Edward Levy, I believe, and it's also worth the reading. Kind of a perfect drive-in movie as well. I'm sure we'll end up doing it on Dead End at some point.
I think they bought the rights though, and it wasn't finished. So Tom Holland, he could do whatever he wanted. And,
yeah.
And if I'm right on that, I believe I am. But that artwork is what got me back in the day. And it was a white box. It said banned in so many countries, and I was like, I got to get this shit.
So I rented The Beast Within and Speak No Evil on the same night.
Oh, damn.
And so the two movies are just joined at the hip for me for all time. And if I watch one, then I get like this strong urge to watch the other.
Right.
And they both kind of have that that fucked up horror coming of age thing going on.
Yeah, and it's a trip because there's one part where they're talking about there's no crime here. We're not Shreveport, and that's where I live. So it always.
Oh, you're in Shreveport?
Yeah.
My parents live in Shreveport. Chris and I were just there like a couple months ago.
Oh wow! Okay.
That's so funny. Okay, we'll hit you up next time we're there.
Right. Awesome. But yeah, that scene always got me. But man, it's some brutal things in the marshland right out the gate. And then later on, it happens again, and so that's how that curse is spread. So, but
Darren, do you have a favorite cursed or a film you want to discuss in the cursed film?
Yeah,
library?
absolutely. Like I went about this a little bit different. Like quite a few of my picks, with the different categories are gonna like be heavily, Italian. That's kind of my thing. But the one that come to mind straight away with this was Demons, Lamberto Bava. 1985, and I've got like a special kind of like memory with this film because it was back in the summer of 1987. It was kind of like all I did kind of all summer was just rent films. You'd have the two VCRs together and you'd copy them.
Oh yeah. And
what I remember most about it is because it was kind of like my last summer before I had to go into like the big bag world of jobs and all that, So, I was just lapping up every horror film I could. And this was my first introduction to Italian horror. It's kind of stuck with me because when you first see this film, the dubbing and all that, and I didn't quite, as young as I was, I didn't quite get that at first. And then with repeat viewings, I just like absolutely fell in love with it. And the curse being obviously, the Nostradamus film at the beginning. And then I think most people are probably seeing it, but then it just goes into complete chaos when one of the prostitutes, she puts this mask on. I think that's a nod to like Black Sunday as well.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And you've got all these different characters. I think Dario Argento's other daughter, Nora Asia, the other daughter is in there as well. Yeah, very young. They went on to do Phenomena, obviously. And yeah, they get these, they're basically handing out free tickets to the showing of this Nostradamus film. And again, Michelle Suavi plays the guy in the mask handing out the tickets. And the prostitute gets scratched with that mask, and then just like wackiness ensues, basically. And it was one of those films as well that I kind of played to death. And even now, if I go back to a Demons film, it's always Demons 2. But it's not to say I don't love this. You've got the soundtrack. How can you go wrong with like Motley Crue, Saxon, Accept, which kind of go with, don't really go with Billy Idol, and you've got Go West, but it kind of works in a funny way. But that's the main big one for me. But can I just briefly mention another two? But I'll do it quite quickly.
Absolutely. But I do want to say that the soundtrack was put together on Enigma Records with a huge budget that they didn't have for any other soundtrack release. So like literally a bunch of guys from El Segundo, California put together that soundtrack for Argento's production company. Kind of fascinating.
And it's an amazing soundtrack as well. Even to this day, you can just put it on in the background. Just briefly, I want to mention this one. I don't think many people will know about it. It's called The Killer Reserve 9 Seats.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
And it features basically the way because it features a curse. Is this like a malevolent spirit, like 100-year-old curse. So you've got all these people. They kind of go to this Gothic theater. This rich guy got this theater in his house, and basically they all get like off one by one. It's like 10 little Indians, but based in a theater. You've got Janet Agron, you've got Howard Ross, some of the big Giallo names, and the look of the killer as well. If you get a chance to look at the mask of the killer, is just superb. So I only just briefly mentioned that. Another one that everyone's going to want to know, but I kind of was like thinking whether I should include this, but it's opera coming out soon as well. You got the Macbeth curse. I don't know what more you can say about opera. You've got that death scene with Daria Nicolodi, probably the best death scene I've ever seen in a film.
The eye scene in that one.
And then it hits the phone at the other end of the room.
Yeah.
And the killer's unique as well, where he puts the eyelashes and he got needles under the girl's eye.
That one still gets me. Like, I still cringe a little bit at that scene.
You're gonna watch this shit now. That's what it's. That's
I
what
mean, it's gone above Suspiria for me. Opera. It's not just my favorite Giallo. It's my favorite film. I think I hide it. I highly regard it that much.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sorry if I kept on, but they're the three I wanted to mention.
Okay.
Yeah, all good picks.
Well, on that note, I'm going to have a not so good pick.
Oh, you went for the trash.
I did go for the trash. So I don't think a lot of people are going to realize that this is technically a Pass the Curse movie, but I went with Thinner from 1996.
It's on my list.
Yes.
It screws it up, though.
Well, which part?
Well, it goes to Monkey's Paw and not enough Mark James, basically. Because the ending doesn't really work.
Well, I mean, like, okay, so for you guys that haven't seen Thinner out there, I'm just going to go ahead and ruin it for you anyway. So it's based on the Richard Bachman novel, Stephen King's pseudonym, obviously. And it's the story of Billy Halleck, who's a successful lawyer, but he's also like really overweight and arrogant. So one night he's getting some roadhead and he hits a Romani woman and kills her. And then her father gets revenge on him by cursing him and making him lose weight no matter how much he eats. So the whole movie is basically, it's just predicated on him trying to figure out a way to remove the curse. I don't think a lot of people remember the fact that somebody gets cursed to be a lizard.
Oh yeah, I remember. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Yeah, I mean, it's. Also, I have a question for all of you guys because I am just not familiar enough with Joe Mantegna's other work. Does he just naturally sound like Fat Tony, or was he putting on the Fat Tony voice specifically for this?
I think it was just for this, right? Yeah.
God. That makes it even better now. Okay, so long story short, the old Romani man who cursed him eventually relents and shows him a way to get rid of the curse. He has to bleed into this pie, and then he has to have someone eat the pie, and he gets his wife to eat it. But then in the morning, his daughter also had a slice.
Right.
So,
yeah. It's some. First time I seen that, it was pretty dark. I was like, holy shit. Yeah. That's some dark shit.
I remember seeing that in a theater with my dad who just fell asleep. So
I mean, fair. It's just kind of like a mid-90s easy to digest horror film. It's fine. Like for
it's fun. Carrie Warren's always worth watching. I love her.
True. Very true.
So I don't have much to add to this conversation because obviously I wanted to talk about Night of the Demon as well, and I knew Dan was going to go there, so I just figured I'd tag on with him. But I do want to bring up perhaps the worst curse movie of all time. It doesn't really match this title because it's not a Pass the Curse. But if you ever really want to hate yourself for spending 70 minutes of your life doing something you should not, 1 year before Curse of the Demon came out in 1958, there was a film called The Pharaoh's Curse. That it's a very small independent American piece of crap that makes absolutely no sense. That very vainly tries to make Egypt out of, I don't know, Pennsylvania.
What?
And it doesn't work at all. It's a real it's a real piece of crap. But it does have its place in your life if you come home from work and you're really tired and angry, and especially if you work retail, Pharaoh's Curse can make you feel better about your place in the world because you didn't make Pharaoh's Curse. So,
wait, so you're willingly going to watch that, but you're not going to watch Trap to make yourself feel better.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. Because I don't think I could do Trap.
I think you need to break Trap down. It does reach a level of stupid that you rarely see. Like, even though
I was on the fence with that one, but I'm thinking about going to just see his daughter's film. I don't know, Watchers or some shit.
Yeah, Watchers is okay, but
okay.
Trap reaches a level of stupid that you sit there through the credits. No way, I just watched that. It's right. The ultimate nepotism movie, which I think is hilarious. They filmed the entire concert for his daughter Salika.
So that's definitely getting released on its own as its own product then.
Oh, it definitely is.
Oh, wow.
It definitely is.
Yeah. 2 for $1ers, right?
But the whole idea of like, okay, we're gonna trap this serial killer in a Taylor Swift concert. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Yeah.
So many class action lawsuits.
I did actually see a new Trap movie this week. This probably worse. Yeah. So I watched The Maze Trap.
Yeah.
Yes. You know,
I
I'm
saw that
slasher
too.
fan.
I started watching it. I was like, nah.
Oh man, it is so bad. You know, the acting level, you know, you go into it, you expect what you expect, you know, but even I was like jaw drop, basically. You've got this girl, like, she's basically working in this like arcade. There's a killer obviously in a mouse kind of, you know, mask.
Yeah.
Oh, and they go somewhere really strange with it as well. So I won't give everything away, but this killer can do some kind of special thing.
Oh, that was so dumb.
Oh man, it is so bad.
I didn't get past the chick in the cell where you could see the back of her head.
Yeah, because it's also in flashbacks as well. Yeah, it's the ending as well just makes no sense. I mean, I would recommend watching it just to like pass 80 minutes, like, but. Oh man, be prepared. It's so bad.
Yeah, how do you screw up a killer Mickey Mouse and a Chuck E. Cheese? I mean, I'm going to go into my thoughts on that one tomorrow on Flesh Wound Features. I don't think there's any surprise that I didn't like it, but
I don't think anyone's liked it. I've read.
There's a person out there, and
somebody's going to champion that shit. You know that.
There was only one smart part of that movie, and they did nothing with it. It was just an afterthought. And I'm just going to say it right now, because it's like, for some reason, like the Mickey Mouse can't, the evil Mickey Mouse can't teleport. Michael Hayes?
Where's the Bad Street USA entrance?
Michael, purely sexy Hayes. That's correct.
So if the evil Mickey is stuck in like a strobing light, he can't teleport, which is almost a cool idea. Like he's being put back into the animation, right?
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, all people's flashlights randomly strobe. No reason.
I mean, it's never even explained why. It's crazy. The one good thing about the film, though, the colors in it are so vibrant. That's the only like compliment I can give it. You know, he's got these real, almost like Suspiria type colors, really vivid. But yeah, man, I'd say definitely give it a miss. Most people.
The hockey jersey threw it off for me. I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that. Why is that strobing?
I'm just saying that this prop from Hellfest does the strobing.
There you go. See, that's how you take Mickey out. That should have been the ending. Just epilepsy, and they're just flashing the flashlights, King Kong style. He falls into the ball pit.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, like, that's how you should write that movie. Like, you should figure out, oh, he's getting caught in the strobe because it's going to put him back in the cartoon. And then you get a big strobing light, and you put him back in the cartoon. How fucking come on.
You know, you're
I guess
almost
some fumbled endings.
It's almost like Ghostbusters, right?
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
shit!
Kind of, yeah.
True.
That's the only time those films are going to be compared, probably.
Yeah.
It's first
Not
and
a-
last.
Not a good, well, maybe a good double feature. Once you've lost the will to live, Ghostbusters will bring you back. But
That good word.
Ghostbusters 2
There
is
goes
bringing
that
you
good
back.
word.
that movie, it's almost an hour before you see Mickey kill anybody on screen.
I know.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
waiting.
What are we
Yeah.
talking about? Is that what we're
Yeah.
Mickey's Mousetrap.
Well, they
Yes.
changed the name, right? It's
Yeah.
just Mousetrap now, right? So that's
They
what I-
do.
That's how I seen it. Yeah, just
Yeah,
the
it
main
was
strap.
Mickey's Trap or Mickey's Mouse. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I like how this started with Lorne talking about what was it, Night of the Demon,
yeah.
Well,
and then switched over to Pharaoh's Curse, and then we started talking about the Mousetrap.
You know that Karen's going to give a shit any second about this.
Well, that sure was enlightening, wasn't it? Now, perhaps you understand why YouTube has deemed this entire crew as expendable. In any case, the second segment is Fay Wray movies. From the grip of a giant monkey's paw, to a wax museum's most gruesome exhibits, to an island where no one needs a hunting permit, or under siege from voodoo practitioners, or evading toothy nightlife, Fay Wray always brought her A game. If only the region-free team understood that concept.
Good evening, Region Free. Since you're all talking about Fay Wray tonight, I thought it would be a good idea to do a little segment on Fay Wray's availability on Blu-ray, and I'm pleased to report that all 6 of her horror films that she made from 1932 to 1934 are available on Blu-ray. Starting with The Most Dangerous Game, which was released by Flicker Alley in 2012 and has audio essays and a booklet, and it's released as a double feature with 1920's Gal the Headhunter. And but it was also given the Masters of Cinema treatment through Eureka Entertainment in the UK, but it is unfortunately Region B locked. So if you want Most Dangerous Game and you're not region free, you better go with Flicker Alley. Next, The Vampire Bat is available on the Film Detective Blu-ray, special restored edition with commentary by Schlock producer Sam Sherman and a featurette on Melvin Douglas's son. King Kong is on Warner Archive Blu-ray with commentary, including a 7-part documentary of RKO Production 601, very extensive, and an hour-long Cooper biography. And then 1934's Black Moon just got a Blu-ray release courtesy of Via Vision Imprint Films back in June. I do plan on including it for my annual Via Vision order. But my favorite, along with her other film, Dr. X, is Mystery of the Wax Museum, which were both given Warner Archive Blu-rays. And Mystery of the Wax Museum is particularly significant because it was fully restored by UCLA Film and Television Archive and Film Foundation in association with Warner Brothers, with funding provided by George Lucas Family Foundation. And like Dr. X, both Blu-rays have commentaries and documentaries that you would want to check out. Thank you for joining me. I got to run, but you all have a great evening.
That was so adorable. I love the little creature running across the screen.
Yeah, Stone got his segment to me today, and I was like, I need to have some time to do something with this.
Well, apparently it worked. It looked great.
Well, yeah, this is my life. So, Fay Wray, this is possibly the most perfect topic for me, and probably the one most of you are dreading.
No, love Fay
I
Wray.
wouldn't say not regretting, but I mean, the movies go by pretty quick.
Fay Wray,
A lot of listening. Sorry.
Fay Wray represented the first era of horror really well.
Right.
The monsters always get the spotlight, but honestly, figuring out what to play them against, what to give them stakes, was part of the problem of early cinema. The earliest horror films were basically just magic tricks dressed up in some gothic dressing. 12, 14-minute films in which skeletons appeared and disappeared. There was no stakes. There was no sense of drama. Enter Fay Wray in Most Dangerous Game and King Kong, in particular, those two, but Dr. X as well. You get, for the first time, there was a character that represented people that they could see themselves in, see their vulnerabilities in. Because if you look back at Frankenstein or Dracula, right, 32, same year, you don't have, as Most Dangerous Game, you don't have a strong, sympathetic character for the audience to really identify with. But Kong in 33 changes that entirely. As sympathetic as she is in Most Dangerous Game, and the best she's ever looked, by the way, in King Kong, Ann Darrow is essential to the film. The film doesn't work without her. That emotional ending does not play as emotional without Ann Darrow and without Fay Wray in particular. It's just a big monster being shot off a building. That relationship, what she brought, and it's a complex performance. All of her performances are complex. I would say they're more complex than any Scream Queen since, really. Her relationship with the dangers of her films is very, very, very complex. If you haven't seen, in particular, Black Moon, I really suggest this is probably one of the horror genre's most undersung masterpieces. It's not politically correct for today, and it's easy to pick on for being out of time. But this movie gets intense, and it gets intense specifically because she is such a great sympathetic protagonist. Everyone else, you're kind of okay with not making it out. But the woman who just came, the secretary who wanted to quit her job because she's in love with her boss, she's trying not to be a homewrecker. She gets asked to go and basically babysit her employer's daughter on an island where her employer's wife is at the center of a voodoo ceremony, an ongoing generational voodoo ceremony.
Oh, damn. Okay.
And it turns into a siege much more intense than Night of the Living Dead. It's still a surprising film. There's things that happen that you don't see coming that are shocking. And it's all wrapped around Fay Wray's, not central, because she's actually a secondary character, but she manages to make the film about her as far as the stakes go. I love Black Moon. I have a mini poster of Black Moon somewhere behind me that you probably can't see because it's on a bad angle.
What films would you say she is the central character? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
King Kong, definitely.
Right. I mean, besides that one.
She's the female lead of Most Dangerous Game, but that film is not necessarily about her.
Right.
She's a very secondary character in Mystery of the Wax Museum, though her performance is amazing in that. Dr. X, for half of it, she's definitely the focus, and the other half, she's definitely not.
Okay. Now, the three I watched, she was always the secondary character. I also watched Woman in the Shadows.
Sure.
The crime drama. I really enjoyed that one. Probably more so than the other two that I've seen. Vampire Bat. And,
the Vampire Bat is the schlockiest thing she did, but it's also kind of like one of the most fun films you can watch.
Yeah.
The ending of the Vampire Bat is fucking wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I chose that one because it was like, oh, Dwight Fry's in this? Hook it up.
I'm sure people were pissed off. They're like, what the hell?
It's just like the ending is bananas because I love the Leopard Man. I thought it was showing tones of that, right? So it's like, okay, in the Leopard Man, it's not a leopard killing these people; it's a guy, using the claws and making it look like it's a leopard, but it's just your average everyday psycho. But in this one, it's the scientist who's like making these deaths look like it's a vampire, but he's telepathically controlling his assistant to kill people and drain their blood because he needs the blood to feed his homunculus. What the
Listen,
as a good homunculus dad should.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Inflation's a bitch.
Imagine if that had been the movie. The whole. Give me that. That would have been wild. But yeah, she doesn't really have anything to do in the vampire bat.
And he's also amping up trying to convince everybody there's a vampire, right?
Yeah. It's just, I mean, she's kind of in the background. It's more so between Carl Britt Schneider and Dr. Von Neumann, which
I
is
need
like
to see the cleaned up versions. I need to see these all cleaned up. These because on YouTube, that don't do them justice. It really don't.
Yeah.
Well, the Film Detective disc is definitely worth your time.
Film Detective doesn't get enough credit. I mean,
don't.
they've really saved some stuff for a new generation, and I wish they had more credit. That nobody ever talks about them, and they do as good a job as anybody. Fay Wray was really like, it was just at that time. I mean, they worked these poor actors to death practically. She was shooting Most Dangerous Game and King Kong at the same time and working literal 24-hour days.
I saw her filmography. It was like 11 films in 1 year or some shit. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
There were
awesome,
no,
man. And she came from the silent era as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. So she filmed her first film in 1920, which is A Lover's Oath, but it's not released until 5 years later after she is a selling point. Now that movie's lost. You can't unfortunately see it, but I do recommend her first talkie was The Sea God, which was filmed in 29, released in 30. And she's definitely a damsel in distress, and she's very young in the role. But even there, it's like she's magnetic. Every moment she's on screen, something is happening that you want to pay attention to. And it's not just because she's gorgeous, which she is.
Right.
But she's not. The interesting thing is she doesn't represent the flapper era, and she doesn't represent like kind of Marilyn Monroe hourglass beauty era either. It is a girl next door thing, but it's a girl next door in a fantasy world. And if she wasn't as good of an actress as she was, I don't know that Hollywood would have had anything to do with her because it's too hard to figure out what to do with. But every time she had an opportunity, she just nailed it.
I mean,
she did.
She's awesome. I mean, from what I saw.
The one I saw, she was the main lead in, is Murder in Greenwich Village. And the opening of that, she's climbing out of this window and down this fire escape. And fleeing like a murder scene. It does go a little, there's kind of like comedy in there. It's like a murder mystery. I could have done a little bit without the comedy. If they'd have played it more like an Alfred Hitchcock sort of, thriller, I think I would have been more for it. But I did, it's not to say I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was, decent. And she is the main character as well. I did watch Dr. X as well, which was like amazing just before I come on here. Boy, that hell of a plot for that, with the scientist, the full moon killer. Mm-hmm. And like Lorne says, she comes into it about the halfway mark mainly, and then it's kind of her film after that in a way. But the actual demise of the killer in that as well is you've got to be seen to be believed, man. It's amazing. And the effects as well for the time,
And while I'm not a huge fan of its sequel, I think it's worth watching.
I didn't even know there was a sequel.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Humphrey Goldberg's only horror film.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Only one. I mean, Lionel Atwill, of course, great in Dr. X.
Great in everything.
Oh, God, yeah.
One of Hollywood's original bad boys. Like, he had some scandals back then.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way you'll work that twist out as well when you're watching Doctor X for the
No.
first time. There's just no way, man.
No.
Yeah.
And, you know, Faye will always have my heart for one last reason. You know, she died at 96 years old in 2004. But and she hadn't been acting in anything. She appeared in things as herself, but as in documentary settings. But she hadn't done any dramatic. But there was an opportunity to do so. James Cameron approached her for Titanic, and she told him to go pound sand. So I love her for that, if nothing else.
I fucking hated The Abyss. I will not work with you, sir.
Also, fun fact, she was driving still in her 90s, which that's a bad bitch.
No. Mystery of the Wax Museum is probably a good place to start for a lot of you guys out there. I think you'll enjoy that one. And
keeps getting made.
Woman in the Shadows, man. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
That's close for me because I like Most Dangerous Game as well. That's like my number one.
That's so good,
and that's
right?
a forerunner to the slasher film that was to come, I
It's
think.
pretty good. Yeah, that's
so
the
unique
one I
for its
watched.
time. And then it's just been copied so many times, hasn't it, over the years? But
yeah, so good. I mean, you wouldn't have Hunger Games or Battle Royale without Most Dangerous Game.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
And even the stalking slasher films as well. It's kind of got that type of, thing
Oh,
going on.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those films that when we think of that era, well, not me, because I live in the 30s in my head, but like most people think of the 30s, they don't think of things as violent and as ruthless as Most Dangerous Game. But it's I would say it's grimier than studio films are today.
Yeah.
I mean, you get more blood, but whatever.
Right.
Yeah, no, there wasn't. I mean, it's a different vibe. I mean, much like we talk 70s movies, the way violence is portrayed, it's sometimes it does feel darker, even though it's 90 years ago.
You can see how that would have shocked people though back in the early 30s, like Most
Oh,
Dangerous Game.
That's what I always try to put myself in that time when I'm watching a film from whatever year. So I always try to think of that, like, what were these people thinking when they saw this?
I mean, imagine being in the 30s and seeing King Kong for the first time. And there's interviews out there, people like Ray Harryhausen talking about what that was like. I mean, seeing that on a big silver screen, it had to be just jaw dropping.
Or just the very first, like the train coming at the people, right? Before shit like that.
Yeah.
Think about Willis O'Brien figuring out stop motion, and then think about Fay Wray being asked to act against it. People have trouble today acting as green screen. Imagine being told you're going to be acting against a rod-controlled puppet of a monkey.
Yeah.
And pulling it off to a degree that, God damn it, we're coming up, 92 years, something, right?
Yeah.
And it still fucking works.
Still holds up today, yeah.
It plays. And I do always have to point out, we would not have King Kong if it wasn't for Ingagi being a huge hit in 1930, I believe. And that is a very, very offensive film, but it made over $4 million, which at that time was the equivalent of a giant blockbuster. And that inspired King Kong, whether they'll admit it or not.
And if you're still not sufficiently offended, Son of Ingagi is even nastier.
Yes.
But
that's one hell of a time period, though, the early 30s, because you've got the old dark house, and I bet Lorne could actually reel off more and more. And I find myself that sweet spot, 1930 to 31. You got Fritz's M, Fritz Lang's M. So I kind of find that a sweet spot, really. But I do like some of the stuff in the 40s as well.
Listen, the 30s are the most incredible time for the horror genre because it's finding its footing, it's finding its language, and at the same time, half the decade is pre-code, so you could do whatever the hell you wanted. Which, I mean, within the standards of the time, your communities were still not going to play the thing if you went too crazy. But I mean, the Bat Whisperers, The Black Room, Bride of Frankenstein, my favorite film of all time, Buried Alive, Death Kiss, Dracula, Drums of Jeopardy, Freaks, House of Mystery. If you haven't seen House of Mystery, holy God, you want to talk about the best twist ending of ever. Hunchback of Notre Dame, Mark of the Vampire, Man Who Changed His Mind, Congo,
Mark of the
Most
Vampires.
Dangerous,
Yeah.
Murders in the Zoo, Night of Terror, the first slasher film.
Yeah.
Nonstop New York, a murder mystery on a plane that takes a really horrific final act movement. Phantom Ship, The Raven, Return of Dr. X, Son of Frankenstein, Song at Midnight, which was not just the first Chinese horror film, but it was also a film that would basically change Chinese cinema, period. And it happened inside the horror genre. Supernatural, which Carol Lombard, fucking fantastic film. Torture Ship, the first screen version of Sweeney Todd, White Zombie, Vampire, Werewolf of London. These are all like, this is my youth. This is what I spent watching UHF channels. This is it. The 30s are so close to my heart.
And most of what you mentioned, you can get on Blu-ray or DVD in some cases. So, like, I think a lot of you out there might surprise yourself how well some of this still holds up. And Fay Wray is a great place to start. You mentioned Supernatural. I fucking love that
unbelievable fucking movie.
Yeah, which you can get from Kino on Blu-ray. So that one's out there.
Yeah. Well, Kino's done a lot of hard work. They deserve a lot of credit too. You talked about Film Detective before, who also are talking about golden age horror restorers. Kino might not spend as much time, but they're getting beautiful prints out there.
Yeah.
No. All right.
The horror genre has always been difficult to pin down. While defining it will always be controversial, all fans have favourite films that they recognise don't quite belong under the banner, but have much of the same feel and tone and attitude. So now these human beings that live on my ship will talk about some of their choices for great flicks that are not quite horror. And you won't be impressed because, why would you be?
You're such a rude bitch.
She really is. Damn.
Like, she's just being mean about it. She's not even being funny. I can respect funny.
Yeah. Be clever when you talk shit, Karen. God damn it.
Keep in mind, she's controlling the navigation of this ship. She
took out your cat.
I saw an orange cat go flying.
He's fine.
So, not quite horror. My top 3 films, Bride of Frankenstein, Natural Born Killers, and Heathers. Bride of Frankenstein, is a monster film, so it's part of the genre by default, right? But the other 2, at least nominally, aren't overtly horror films. And yet, every time I watch them, they make sense as part of the genre to me. They're both films about morality and mortality, and that's kind of what the genre does. So I've always had a very wide definition of the horror genre. You've all seen it a million times. I'm not going to put it on screen now. But I'm interested in your guys' favorite films that are almost horror films. Jonathan, why don't you lead us off?
Go for it,
John. Oh boy, why not? I went with No Country for Old Men for this one.
Oh yeah,
really good movie.
It's like the most well-made slasher movie of all time. Like, if you really want to get down to brass tacks, like, is there anyone scarier than Anton Chigurh? Like, ever?
That damn haircut, man.
That exactly. The fact that they don't give you like anything in that movie, they never tell you like what year it is. You just have to like figure that out for yourself. Like the minimal use of like music like at all in the movie. I don't know, man. It's just I can't remember seeing another movie that wasn't horror that made me feel that way. Just that dread. I think dread's never been done better on film.
And dread is definitely one of the emotions that a horror film draws out. Yeah, I think that I think that's a really solid choice. And it falls into that category. I'm hoping I'm not stealing anything from any of you guys, but like Bone Tomahawk and if they're those films, even like something like Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, they're there but they're not, right? But they're still getting those emotions. Even the dark gallows humor counts.
Yeah.
So,
I'm curious though, Lorne. Like, Natural Born Killers is satirical, and it's got the horror elements in there. What would you consider like U-Turn?
U-Turn is weird because I think Stone was trying to make a postmodern noir without any of the stylistic embellishments that you'd expect from noir.
Yeah.
So no German expressionist, set design, no exaggeration. So it's very grounded. But I'd say a film that does it better is Romeo is Bleeding, which takes a lot of similar concepts, but manages to feel. I know it feels like Romeo's Bleeding feels gothic, and yet nothing gothic happens in the film. In the same way that in the Tales from the Dark Side movie, the Cat from Hell sequence is in color, but it feels like black and white.
Yeah.
Sometimes movies can tap into the essence of what a form is, even if it's not actually part of that form. It's not based on that. And I kind of love when that happens. Natural Born Killers is satire, but it is a satire that's unrelentingly bleak. It's a mean form of satire. Because ultimately, when you realize, maybe some people don't realize this, but when you walk out, you realize that Stone was directly attacking you for showing up to his film.
Yeah.
The film is about.
Well, I didn't the first time because I was under the influence of other things.
But it's about the immoral nature of media saturation, right? To the point whereas the superstars of our era are the people who commit the most horrible acts. Or, you could make this into a Kardashian thing, which is like, you don't need to do something. You just have to exploit yourself.
Yeah.
The end of the movie when Robert Downey Jr. in by far his best performance is up against a train and says, wait, you can't kill me.
Right.
I'm the last witness. And they point out, and Mickey points out, no, the camera is the last witness. At that point, the movie theater watching the movie is just as much as part of the canvas as anything on screen. And that's that's one of the reasons I love the movie so much, is that it's not meta. It goes way beyond meta. Meta is winking at the audience, breaking the fourth wall. Natural Born Killers is actually using the form itself, the art form,
including the audience, as
an art form.
Right.
And I think you'd have to go back to like Fellini to see someone who's as impressive in conceptually seeing what film is capable of. So, sorry, that's a big aside about Natural Born Killers.
How do you feel about Tarantino's thoughts on the film?
I have a screenplay. It's not ambitious compared to the film that was created. I think a lot of people would be shocked about what's not in it. That's in the movie that is pretty iconic. It's all played very straight. The level of the level of satire is, oh look, they're superstars because they're murderers. It's basically Charles Manson on trial getting all the news coverage.
Yeah.
But it does not have the energy. It doesn't have the energy on the page that the movie has on the screen. It's also not very Tarantino-ish in the dialogue, which is a weird thing. I don't know. Maybe he claims he wrote that and True Romance as one piece, and that he removed Mickey and Mallory from it. Of course, the diner scenes in all of his films are supposed to be connected, but never, because they were made at different times by different companies. That didn't really work out for him. But no, I mean, if you wanted his version of it, I think you'd ultimately be sacrificing too much incredible filmmaking. Also, at the same time Stone made Natural Born Killers, like the technology to edit the film was being developed as he was making the film. It was a digitally edited film using as many different film stocks, video stocks, toy cameras, anything you could get his hands on to make the film look as schizophrenic as modern media is. He wanted it to always feel like you were channel surfing.
Yeah. Reality TV, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the idea was that at a certain point, like, you're not even controlling the remote control. It's controlling you. And I love that the point of view character is Owen, who is, yes, in the first moments of the film, but you don't see him again for another hour and 20 minutes, which I think is an incredible choice. Like, you take people on a ride, and by the time you get to your point of view character, it's almost irrelevant. I think there's something being said there too. So I love natural born killers. I'm sorry, segment really wasn't supposed to be about natural born killers.
That's okay.
It's fine. It fits the criteria.
Yeah,
it does.
It does, definitely.
And I love natural born killers as well.
Yeah.
What do you, director's cut or theatrical for you, Lorne?
Well, I mean, so it's one of those films where there's nothing structurally changed. It's just inserts that are missing. So, I mean, I'll take the director's cut to get my severed fingers and my extra sprays of blood. And
the ending changes, right? Like, don't they die in the theatrical and they live in the director's?
No, I mean, there's a lot of cut scenes, but the director's cut ends with them in the RV the same way. The sequence of them dying was a cut scene that's been, I think some fan edits have reinserted into the film, but
okay.
I don't think that even makes thematically. It doesn't even really make sense. I've owned a director's cut since Laserdisc, and it's honestly, I think you could cut that film down to a PG-13 and it would still be just as effective, because I don't think the violence itself is really what's powerful about the movie. I think it's just the approach to it all, and the music and the use of the use of sound and fury and quiet in that movie is unreal.
The visuals, man, like holy shit.
The moment when they're trapped in the jail in the prison, up in the commissary, and they're literally duct taping themselves together because they're going to have to try and force themselves through all the guards.
Oh
yeah, the riot scene.
The music just dives down, like, and becomes a completely different movie just by changing how it sounds, and it goes from being kind of a wild fun thing to, oh my god, this just turned into Bonnie and Clyde. And I love the film. I think everyone's performance is awesome. I think it's a lot of people's best performances. Tommy Lee Jones is unbelievable.
Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh my God, the role he was made to play. And Juliette Lewis. I mean, I've a variety of feelings about Juliette Lewis. I think there's sometimes when she's not really invested in other movies, and you can tell. In Natural Born Killers, she got it.
Yeah, she's on the peyote now.
Yeah.
This one in California are like my two big hallmarks for her.
That's a good double feature.
It
is.
Okay, so someone else's not quite horror favorites. Get away from me.
I've got a few I can mention. Oh, go on, Sam. Sorry.
Okay. So I guess I have two, because you don't really have that much to say about them. Not quite as much as Natural Born Killers. I'm not an expert on the subject. But I've always had a lot of existential dread from 2001: A Space Odyssey, and it does creep. And I think one of the reasons that it does it for me, because even though that the Star Child at the end is supposed to be the new form of life and transcending into that, right? Next evolution, that should be hopeful and a new beginning for everyone, right? And for me, it just kind of makes me realize how impermanent our bodies are, and that they're continuing to die and rot a little bit every day, and how small our own lifespans matter. So it's if you really stop to think about it, it'll fuck with your head.
Oh, if you like that, you should try mushrooms.
I mean, I don't.
You'll get similar thoughts.
It's
take that desert trip,
Yeah.
Funny you pick that, because in its own way, it's also a film about media causing evolution. The same way Natural Born Killers is a cautionary story of the monolith.
It's also man overcoming AI. Before it was a thing.
Yeah. It was a big concern.
I mean, it's funny enough because that's one of my picks, by the way.
Oh wow!
Good one.
Nice.
Slowly coming true.
How creepy are those random monoliths that pop up in the desert now?
I love it because it's not a bug-eyed creature, Are you talking about real life?
Yeah, I'm talking about there's just I don't know who's been doing it for the past decade. These huge monoliths will just appear in the middle of nowhere deserts.
I have not seen any news coverage.
Oh,
I don't know.
look it up.
I'm out on that one.
It's fantastic.
I was like, holy shit. But
yeah. And it looks like the monolith from 2001.
So if you look closely in the movie, the monolith is all over that spaceship.
Yeah, it actually is.
For a reason.
How?
Mm-hmm. The monolith
How?
is
The eye of Hal is inside.
Like whatever we're visualizing as Hal is the.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The monolith is technology, basically, and we see the dawn of man, and we see the first weapon being used, and that is the invention of technology. And then we see what happens when AI gets introduced. It causes that next evolution, and that's the movie. Mm-hmm. But it's a painful experience, right? And it's a psychologically painful experience to realize that we think of ourselves at the zenith, and we're not. And in fact, we're probably at the base still.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're bacteria, man.
No, we're animals that can speak.
So in a way, 2001 is a pretty Lovecraftian movie without the tentacles.
Bald monkeys that harnessed the power of the sun.
Some of us balder than others.
And the book was being written the same time, right?
Well, sort of. I mean, Arthur C. Clarke was writing. It was commissioned to write it, but Kubrick had no intention to follow what Clarke was writing.
No, he's going to do his thing no matter what.
We all know how he feels about other people's novels. So,
right. But yeah,
what did that? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying the whole vibe in space, no sound in space. All you hear is the breathing. That's some terrifying shit like going on in that movie. Like,
because it also robs you of that whole that Star Trek, Star Wars, globe-trotting adventure. Everything's safe, everything's cool. Our heroes are going to be just fine, right? You take that away, and you realize the universe doesn't give a shit about you, and it will snuff you out.
Mm-hmm.
Again, pretty Lovecraftian.
Just what that film did.
Great choice.
For sci-fi aesthetics moving forward.
Oh yeah,
like that movie still looks as good and as modern as it does because everything has been copying it for the past 60 years.
Yeah, well, we've said it a million
without
times.
that, there's no Star Wars.
Oh, for sure.
No.
Or the concepts, just how gravity worked on the ship. Like, how many times have you seen that exact idea recycled? Like,
oh sure.
And how it was done, I mean, is insane. Like, people are these massive, crazy sets that are built. Like, it's like the first big budget sci-fi film, right? Like, as far as I know, I think it's like the biggest.
I think before that, it's you're going to like shit, like small miniatures on strings and.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, in a way, you're still doing that. You're just doing very elaborate versions. Of
it,
right?
But you could see the string.
Right. Well, I mean, so you have like Battle of the Planets or something from 15 years earlier is embryonic, but I think that Kubrick probably looked at all those old science fiction films of the 50s and said, but we could do that right. I think he did the same thing with The Shining, whereas he looked at all of the ghost movies of the early 60s and said, yeah, but I could do that right. And
the fact he picks the scores that he picks, they're never dated, and it's in certain times it has that same kind of feel as The Shining in a way, like that haunting.
Yeah.
I can't describe it really like in words.
Well, you're getting kind of that same dichotomy of like a man alone with his own thoughts. The same way you have with like Jack Torrance.
Yeah. So I mean that
solitude.
The whole use of liminal spaces to reflect this human psyche is his thing. Even in Full Metal Jacket that plays out. Although I mean, have you ever deep dived into the ghosts in Full Metal Jacket?
No, I have not.
Oh, you should. There are ghosts in that movie. Anyway, Darren.
Right, so here's one. I've got a couple I can mention, but here's one I've never heard people mention at all. It's called The Mean Season.
Oh,
and it stars Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
So yeah, just to set this one up. So you've got this reporter, and he's kind of fed up with his job. He's telling his wife, that he wants to get out. and all that. And basically, the first shot is this serial killer, like basically shooting this girl at point blank range. I mean, it's as horror as you can get, that opening scene. And then this killer kind of like phones Kurt Russell's character then, and he's because Kurt Russell's character actually reported on these murders that were going on before, but the killer's like re-emerged. So it's a kind of cat and mouse game between the two of them. I just don't know why it's not under the horror bracket. It's insanely good. I think David Fincher kind of got influenced with Zodiac, because it's really like some of the things in it are so similar. They'll kind of jump out at you. So
I'm
yeah,
not
I'm not
familiar with that
really.
one at all.
It's a good one, I tell you. A quick couple of others as well. I got is Clute, Donald
Oh, yeah.
Sutherland.
Clute.
Great.
I've watched Clute like a million times and never intended to.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got the character of Jane Fonda. She plays this prostitute, and what it is, Donald Sutherland's character, John Clute, he's like a private investigator, and he's looking into this missing persons story, or this missing persons. And basically, this missing persons was like a John of the prostitute, like Jane Fonda, and you've got this kind of this cat and mouse. There's all the stalking over the phone, and this was like before Black Christmas, and you've got When a Stranger Calls that was to come later. And the music as well is just really creepy throughout. I think you could like class it as an American Giallo, one of the earliest ones. Very creepy. Last but not least, I would say Clint Eastwood's got a couple that could be on you, like Play Misty for me. But this one is Tightrope.
Play Misty for me.
This one plays out, man, like a complete slasher. It's sleazy. Again, opening scene, we got this woman. She's being stalked by what we think is a serial killer. A policeman shows up, and then, like, the added twist of that scene is the policeman is the killer. And then it kind of goes into this, like, basically another slasher film, He's a single father. He's got 2 kids. He's kind of looking into this case. It takes him into all kind of rabbit holes. He ends up having sex with prostitutes and all this, for the cause, I guess. And it wraps up really well because his girlfriend gets like in trouble as well with this serial killer who's always watching him and is always close by, without him really knowing. And it, like, the finale is superb. I'm not going to spoil it, but it involves like his girlfriend and all that. And those are like 3. I don't know what you guys would think of. Because the first thing that comes to mind was because there's been kills in a lot of films that are horrific. So you've got, Fatal Attraction. You've got a scene in that wouldn't look out of place in like Friday the 13th. Mm-hmm. You've got Single White Female. I know this is not Lawrence like hot. I was going to say. You got the Ice Pick Kill from Basic Instinct. I mean, it doesn't get more horrific than that.
That's pure horror, man. Like that scene is anyway.
Yeah, and it doesn't quite, it obviously doesn't go
exploitation movie, I guess, if you really get down to it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and it opens up with that as well. Yeah. But yeah, those are my 3. But yeah, that's kind of what come into mind, these early 90s ones as well. The Hand of Rock's a Cradle, I mean, that would be another.
Ooh,
and again, I've heard this show so many times.
Yeah,
I know it's not long.
I don't like that shit either.
I love them. I love all those.
Did you say not without my daughter, Dan?
Did I?
Yes. No, I remember. You know what though? I'm gonna give that one points because it was always at the bootleg table at every horror convention that I went to.
Oh yeah.
I hated that whole movement of we want horror fans to show up, but we're gonna look down our nose. We're making a classy psychological thriller, but you weren't.
Oh, yeah.
You were just making a fucking horror movie with like 2 A-listers and we're gonna have someone really well renowned do the score and we'll just package this thing up. I hated the whole movement. It predates the Scream thing just with older actors pretty well, actually, in my feelings. Hand That Rocks the Cradle may be the worst of the bunch, but I had a pretty good movie theater experience with it because I kept calling out what was going to happen before it happened. I mean, like scene by scene. because it's
And
so
then they asked you to
unimaginative.
leave.
Yeah, it's
No,
pretty
everyone
strict.
was good with it. It was fine.
The breastfeeding
But she
scene is one of the
breastfed
shocks
the
in that.
baby. Sorry.
Yeah, that's kind of just the whole concept of that. You know, obviously, you know, it's not the baby's mother, and that kind of what people were like. That's the horrific part for me in that film.
I think I saw
You
that
know?
at the same time I saw The Guardian. I think.
Otherwise known as William Friedkin's worst mistake.
Yeah, wasn't a good night.
Ugh. I saw that. I saw Guardian at the Washington Twins Cinema back in the day, and
That's a much
the
for a
audience
movie.
the audiences started laughing uncontrollably with the tree versus chainsaw sequence at the end, and it was not what Friedkin was going for.
Then Friedkin stood up and slapped each one of them.
If he'd been there.
You know, speaking of The Guardian, the first time that I even came to learn about that movie, this was like early 2000s, and there was some disc. It was just, you know, like a collection of different movie monsters, and I don't even remember what it was called. It was like Monster something, and it was like, you know, Freddy and Jason and Pinhead and Chucky, and then The Guardian was
Collection?
like, huh?
Was it called The Killer Collection?
It might have been.
I think so. It was on DVD, and we all bought it.
Yeah,
hang on.
I think it was.
Hang on. And then they followed it up with like the Fight Collection, and that sucked.
Oh my god! Oh god! I'm gonna look at it right now. I need to find that picture. I think it is though.
It was a red box with like 6 photos from different photos on it. I think we all bought it. I think we all got sucked in.
It's called Boogeymen.
Boogeyman.
Oh, that's right. That's
oh my
right.
gosh.
Oh god,
I remember that. Yeah,
I had that. Yeah,
we
I
all
had
bought
that.
that.
Everybody had it.
We all bought it.
Yeah.
That thing had
This-
to have made. That was the Girls Gone Wild for the horror set.
It was. This is my OG one too. This
Damn.
came free with a copy of Land of the Dead at Walmart.
And you sold the Land of the Dead, but you kept that.
I actually did get it for this. Like I had seen Land of the Dead already, but I wanted this more.
Yeah. So that's the first time I'd ever even heard about The Guardian, and I was so confused. And I still haven't seen it.
I figured that the production company called for a rights clearance on another film. They're like, you can have it, but you have to include clips from The Guardian.
There it is, yeah. Camilla, The Guardian.
Oh, it's so bad.
I need to watch this again. Leave that out.
Dirk, do you have a?
Yeah. Space Odyssey we talked about already a little bit, but so this other one is Spoorloos. I think that's how you say the shit, or The Vanishing, the Dutch version, not the piece of shit.
The good version.
Remake by the same director, which is weird,
bizarre. Yeah,
that never plays real well, right?
Funny games. It worked.
Kinda.
Yeah.
I do prefer the original.
Yeah, the American version has got a happier ending with Kiefer Sutherland, and it's got Jeff Bridges in it. But I prefer the 1988 version. It's not quite hard for sure, and I think Stanley Kubrick even said it's the most terrifying film he'd ever seen. And he called the director, and they started talking about editing and shit. But no, so the premise is like this guy, he's with his girlfriend. I think the car runs out of gas. They're in a tunnel. And then, no, they go to a rest stop. That's what happens. He comes back with gas. So it's like, and she had like a dream. But anyway, they go to the rest stop and she vanishes. You don't know where she's at. For 3 years, he's searching for her. He's putting signs up everywhere. And then the kidnapper reaches out to him and says, hey, if you want to know what happened to your girlfriend, you have to experience what she did. And it's one of the most bleak endings of a film you'll ever see. But it's a great movie. And the whole, I'm not going to ruin it. I'm not going to spoil nothing. But the whole motive behind the shit is like insanity and narcissism mixed together. But highly recommend The Vanishing by George Sluizer. I think that's how you say his name. But
I second that one. It's a great movie, and a lot of people have just seen the remake, which drives me mad.
Yeah, I seen the remake first, believe it or not, and then when I saw this one, I was like, "Nah, this is the one. This is the one."
I'm a snoozer, baby.
I thought Dirk was going to mention another film, but I want to get your thoughts on it. How do you feel about the remake of Cape Fear? Do you think that's a horror film or not?
It is, but it's a very frustrating film to me. Like De Niro is so over the top that I just it loses the original's intensity for me. And I know that's not true for everyone.
Yeah, I love Cape Fear.
I love the remake.
Goddamn, Juliette Lewis good in that one too.
Lewis,
yeah.
This is all Juliette Lewis
Nick
all
Nolte,
night around here.
Jessica Lange. I mean,
Nick Nolte, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
forget about what before he was.
Especially the scene where he's like, "I got you now, bitch." It's like, what the fuck is going on here, man? But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know he's over the top, but that kind of is the point for me. I think that's why it works so well.
Right.
Because it just gets batshit crazy the more the film goes on.
He started speaking in tongues and shit.
Yeah. It's one of the best, I think, killers.
And then he made The Fan after that, based on Peter Abraham's novel, and
no.
Well, I guess that's almost a horror film too in many ways.
Before we scooch, I got one more honorable mention. Copycat.
Sigourney Weaver.
Oh,
okay. Yeah.
Very good one.
Yeah. That one scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
Well, yeah, because like, doesn't Harry Connick Jr. try to like hang her by her own pantyhose?
At the beginning of the film, like it's a pretty like gory kill of a security guard or a cop. I can't remember, but I had to come back to it later because I was pretty young when that came out.
Another underrated actor. I mean, he'd go from that to romantic dramas with Sandra Bullock, and he could do pretty much anything. I have probably the most depressing pick, I think, for anything that was mentioned. The 90s were the 90s may not have been a great time for horror into the early 2000s, but it was a great time for independent film. There was so many classics from that time. I mean, American Beauty, and not that was indie, but lots of great ones. And I wanted to bring up one in particular that is it's Darren Aronofsky's Requiem for a Dream.
Oh shit.
Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one, when you told me the topic, I'm like, that's the first thing that came to my head. It's based, it's an adaptation of the Hubert Selby Jr. book, who also wrote the screenplay. And this one, Ellen Burstyn in this movie, probably the most heartbreaking scene, and there's a lot of heartbreaking scenes. This movie's a descent into hell.
We're double into dildo is not the craziest shit in this movie.
Ass to ass is like number 10 in this movie. There's there's some bad scenes in this, and Ellen Barkin's speech on Ellen Burstyn's speech on aging and loneliness in this is some of the best acting you've ever seen on screen.
Yeah.
She was robbed of the Oscar in this movie is just insane to me. It doesn't get any better. And I mean, the red dress, and I
love the refrigerator attack scene. You know?
Yeah. I remember watching Pi, I think in '98, right before this, and that one having no fucking idea what I was even watching at the time.
It's a hard watch though, dude. Like, this is not.
It's rough. Yeah.
There is nothing happy about this movie. I mean, just the way it ends, and I heard somebody say it was anticlimactic, and I was like, I don't think you quite get it, but the
score,
nothing goes right for nobody. You know,
no,
it's like life. It's like how that situation actually plays out, which is what's so depressing about it.
All about addiction.
It should be played in every school, I think. You know,
that's what I've said.
It's like an anti-drug film.
So traumatize them when they're like 12 with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
That watch through right before we get out of high school.
I saw this and I was like, nah, never gonna do any of that. And it hits harder. I didn't know anybody with these addiction issues at the time, but I did later. So watching this again later on, it hits even harder because I mean, I've known Jennifer Connelly's, I've known Marlon Wayans in this film. I mean, I've known these people, so it's the definition of not quite horror.
And what's terrible?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean.
Oh no, I was go for it.
Say if they made that movie today about same kind of movie about addiction, it would somehow be worse. Like, it's what is so sad about it, especially looking back with 20-something years later. Like, that problem only intensified over that time period.
The center section of Train Spotting always did this, had the same feel to me. Whereas you're laughing, and oh, now there's a frozen dead baby on a chair. I think there was a time when, again, there's a time when you can do that stuff. I don't think you can make these movies today.
No, I don't think you could do this one the same way.
I'm not getting into movie theaters. I mean, how is that going to sit alongside Shazam 3? It's not.
You go into the wrong theater. That could be.
And the art theaters at this point are all repositories of old cinema now. They're not really showing like as much anyway, new independent. So I think the 90s were a golden time for this kind of horror adjacent filmmaking, while the horror genre was basically slumbering, trying to figure out what its next move was. The indies came in because the mainstream was not getting it done. Your Jennifer Aites and your What Lies Below and that shit was not getting it done. Even if it was selling tickets, it wasn't getting it done.
I mean, like some of the Greg Araki stuff.
I love Doom Generation so much.
I was going to say Happiness. You could not make Happiness in any, like, you couldn't make that on your own now. Somebody would come find you.
Yeah. It was a magical time. I mean, horror,
fucking
like
kids. Larry Clark made a whole career out of this.
Well, welcome to the Dollhouse.
Oh God, yeah, I was gonna say.
Even Spanking the Monkey, which again, humor so dark it'll fuck you up.
Spanking the Monkey, I thought I was going into a sex comedy. That used to play on HBO all the time. And I'm like, oh, this looks hilarious. Spanking the Monkey. It's like some dude that's just going to get busted fapping somewhere. Like, it's going to be a lot of yucks. And then you watch it and it's like, oh, this is a depressing movie about a guy that bangs his mom.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
It's the Chris Chan movie.
It's
the
Chris
God.
Chan movie.
I almost brought up Irreversible, but I thought maybe that.
I would just say that is a horror film.
Yeah, I think that is a straight horror
You
film.
think it's a horror film?
I do.
Yeah,
I do. I think if we're going to include something like I Spit on Your Grave in the genre, you have to include something like
Irreversible is a horror movie.
They're going for the same emotional responses.
Yeah,
I would say Seven and Zodiac kind of qualify as well.
Yeah, no, that could be part of the genre.
Does.
Yeah.
Zodiac is fascinating because it's a slasher film that covers the slasher aspects in the first 10 minutes and then asks you to deal with the aftermath, which is the one thing slasher films are not supposed to touch.
Yeah.
So I love that movie. That's in my top 40 as well. So it's my favorite. It's my no, that's not exactly true. I mean, Alien 3 is my favorite Fincher, but of his proper catalog, if you know what I'm saying, it's my favorite. I think it's way better than Fight Club or Seven.
Fight Club's like Schein is wore off as the years went on.
I love it, and it plays well when you go back to it, but I'm going to tell you that I hardly ever think of it, and that's probably a pretty nasty indictment of it.
That was every film bro's favorite movie when I was like 15.
Yeah.
That or Boondock Saints, always the.
I was the Boondock Saints guy.
Nah,
so.
I never understood the love for Boondock Saints.
Yeah, I remember that.
I was the right age.
All right.
I demanded that they change the order of these segments specifically to avoid creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. You see, the next topic is fumbled endings, and if they covered it as the final topic of this show, well, you can see where that would go, can't you? Dan in particular is no stranger to disappointing endings if his recent dates are any indication.
Ohio.
Savage.
Wow.
Try thinking about baseball.
Or Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, that'll end it. That's the end of the evening.
So
Just
I'm
think about
gonna.
the whale. Sorry.
I'm definitely going to break one of my cardinal rules on this, so we might want to definitely have me go last on this, especially since I monopolized with the natural born killer thing last time. So who wants to lead us off?
I'll go. Just because I complain about everything. I might think of a couple of other ones, but one of the ones that I was thinking of is like Scream 5, but that whole fucking movie is fumbled for me. And it's the laziest kind of writing, where it's like, oh, the killers are actually the hardcore, like, true fans, right? And they're trying to make a point, which I hate it when movies try to make points. And
isn't that kind of what that whole series is, though?
Okay, but I mean, when they're trying to, like, jab back at the audience, I guess, right? Kind of like with Ghostbusters, how there were the jokes about
insulting your
living
audience
in basements, right? And then there was also the joke about the YouTube comments about "ain't no bitch gonna be busting no ghost" or whatever, right? And those were the jabs at, like, the negative responses to the movie. And Scream 5 does the same thing, and nobody noticed. I'm just like, why? I mean, what was the need for it? There wasn't, like, who was lashing out against Scream 5, like, before it came out? Okay, you. But, I mean, I feel like you were in the minority.
Oh, I'm always in the minority.
Huh?
I'm always in the minority.
No, but I just feel like a majority of fans were really, like, ready for another Scream movie. I was ready for another Scream movie. I'm not ready for any more Scream movies, but I was then. So I'm just like, why did you guys do that? That's so weird. But I was like, the whole movie is fucking garbage to me. It's just that ending still bothers me.
I don't know. I was calling it 5 Cream before it came out, so
I like it.
But it made nobody 5 Cream.
Maybe not you.
I thought you were gonna go the lame killer reveal in Scream 3. Like, that's your mastermind?
Oh yeah, no, that was not good either. But yeah,
it's never a good sign when I can figure the shit out in the first 30 minutes.
Oh, besides your main character, it's the first speaking role after the credits. Every time. It's the I'm not gonna go on a rant about Scream because everyone knows that I just detest these films, but they had so much goodwill that the thing I think frustrates me is that at this point they could just write something really transcendent and crazy and just put a freaking Scream mask in it somewhere, and they've earned the right to do something good.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they just make another Scream movie. And I love Radio Silence. Like, these guys are heroes of mine, and somehow I have to live with the fact that they made 2 pieces of shit called Scream.
6 is definitely worse than 5. It's quite a bit worse.
I'll never know.
I liked 6 more than 5 because I felt like it was leaning into being trash, and I'm like, at least you're upfront with it.
Yeah. I'm ready for that to finally die. But I don't think it ever will.
No, we've got 7 coming. So.
They're letting Kevin Williamson direct. That should probably do it.
That should do it.
I mean, as long as there's Spirit Halloween stores, there's always going to be Scream movie.
Always going to be Scream.
That's a weird thing we're seeing now is stores are driving what's being made in the horror genre. Not in the action figure space and Saturday morning cartoons.
God damn it.
That there should be a correlation there.
I've lived too long.
Does anybody, I'm sure this is on somebody's list because I have a bunch of little ones, but Glass. The main character drowns.
This whole thing's going to be Shyamalan.
That's literally in my notes. I'm like, everything M. Night Shyamalan.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Ever.
Well, I'll go ahead and throw The Village in on that, and we'll just do like Shyamalan as a whole.
Well,
but The Village.
But Glass also had that, like, it's coming off Split, which I did enjoy, and then it's like Bruce Willis just drowns in a fucking puddle. Like
what?
Like it's awful.
That's so, oh,
Well, if you think about what actually tied Split to Unbreakable, is just like the post-credit scene. Is it? It may not. I mean, yeah. It's you take that out, and Split's just its own fucking thing.
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute, that's connected. Shit.
Yeah, it's like, hey, by the way, did you know I was in this movie? And then he just walks out.
I kind of wish it wasn't, honestly. And it wasn't tied to it, but
I bet he's glad he can't remember that movie now.
Oh, dude, like I go down the list. I mean, The Happening, it's the trees.
Oh yeah, and then it just it's fine. Just stops.
What? No.
Yeah, no, man. That's right.
The Village is the worst one to me because like they're not that far away from the highway.
I had The Village on my list, and damn, yeah. So.
That's when I lost all faith in Shyamalan. Like I think Lady in the Water was next, and that cemented it.
I don't remember how that ended. I'm sure that was stupid too. But
Paul Giamatti's got a haunted swimming pool. I think is how it went down.
Haunted swimming pools are just never a good idea.
We tried that night swim, but that was technically a haunted wishing well.
There is an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark with a haunted swimming pool that's pretty fucking dope though. So you can't say it doesn't work anywhere.
I think haunted wells work, but not a swimming pool.
Especially in Gordon Lightfoot songs.
Haunted bodies of water are scary, dependent on size, evidently.
Oh man, what if it was the whole ocean? The ocean was haunted.
The ocean, the whole Indian Ocean.
You know what did a better job? Ghost Shark, because Ghost Shark can just appear in any water. He killed somebody in a water fountain. How impressive!
Damn.
Is that? I have one, and I know nobody's picking it because nobody remembers this thing. The Forgotten. I don't know if anybody remembers.
Oh shit!
Oh my gosh.
They named that motherfucker right, didn't they?
the Julianne
Great
Moore
fucking title, right?
Man.
Yes, it's 20th anniversary. Julianne Moore looking for a kid, and it's just this weird twist where it's like the government is conspiring with aliens on experiments about maternal instinct or some nonsense. It's really stupid.
That's from a rush of like those PG-13 thrillers. Like,
yeah,
there was the one where Robert De Niro had the Antichrist as a kid. I can't think of that one.
Godsend, Hide and Seek.
Yeah, Others. Yeah, Hide and Seek. Like,
yeah, De Niro's I Just Want to Work era.
So my other one I had Sliver.
Oh, good call.
What a piece of shit.
Well, the night of the creep slip off, you mean?
God damn. I mean, blow up all the damn televisions, because you're a pervert, and then say, get a life, and then that's it. Like, what are we doing here? So
it's like
they made 2 films called Sliver, though.
He's talking the Sharon Stone Sliver.
Sharon Stone.
Right, yeah, I was thinking the other one. Yeah,
Slither is what you're thinking of, Darren.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Slither kind of rocks.
Slither's awesome. Yeah.
I mean,
I was going to say, yeah.
Slither's not bad, but Sliver is
Sliver.
Kind of waste of time. That end is I don't know.
Sharon Stone was kind of like, I mean, she had that huge peak with Basic Instinct, but it doesn't last because, I mean, in about 5 years, her career's kind of dead in the water.
Casino.
Yeah. Then it, like, by 98, 99, like, she's just kind of done. I mean, she still works, but...
Yeah, she did 2 Basic Instinct.
I was about to bring up the sequel. I mean, like, wow, the recession, man. Like, 2008 gave us Basic Instinct, too, so...
Hey, it was rough out there. It was rough out there.
So, I'm not a fan of Stephen King's It to begin with, the novel. And the miniseries that everyone loves with Tim Curry, I just thought looked goofy. I was never a fan. I never thought it was scary. When the first It came out, the recent, I thought it was the best version of a flawed story that had ever been told.
Chapter 1, yeah.
And then It Chapter 2 happened.
Oh my god, that! Oh,
Penny.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I fucking hate It Chapter 2.
It Chapter 2 is an awful film, but it contains probably the most incoherent ending in film history because that film literally starts with, hey, bullying people is really wrong. And the film ends with, sometimes bullying is the way to win.
Yes.
Bully the
What
bully.
a message!
Exactly.
Oh, and Richie's gay. And Richie's gay. Don't forget about that. It's a big point in that ending.
Oh, you know what? I remember people on Twitter being mad that Pennywise was fat shaming somebody. And I was like, shut the fuck up, please. It is a movie about
That's
a
the problem.
killer clown.
That's the problem with the killer clown is doing.
Shut the fuck up, Cliff Booth.
It's
You
just-
know those movies are fucking better. He is just the king of bad opinions.
No, Cliff is right. The miniseries is better.
Well, no, the miniseries is not better than the first.
The first movie is better. Is amazing.
But
I know.
Yeah,
it's
I enjoy the 90 version. Like
I enjoy it. I love it. It's my childhood.
But that's nostalgia.
But
I
if
think.
like we're looking
Right.
at like a
Tim Curry
done
as Pennywise.
If you're
Like-
took,
that's not a competition.
If you have to take
Stars
both
right
Nights of the
now.
miniseries together and both of the movies together, they both share the same problem, which is that the first half is so much better than the second,
First
which
half's
comes from
way
the novel.
better.
Because the problem is the second half of the novel has all the celestial turtle stuff and all the stuff that you wouldn't put on film, and of course the kid gangbang, which you're not putting on film.
Right.
So you remove all that, and you realize you got basically the Chinese food scene and nothing else to work with. So I mean, the problem is for me is that the second film is so god awful that it almost erases all the goodwill of the first movie. But the miniseries, I'll be honest with you, I was bored out of my socks in 1990.
Really?
And I have not changed my mind at all.
Okay.
But again, when I read the novel in 1988, I was not impressed either. So,
Do you think it's just that fear people have of clowns in general? Because I've never had that. So when people would reference how terrifying Pennywise was, I'm like, I like Tim Curry. It's a good
I
performance.
was scared of Tim Curry's.
That was what it
Pennywise.
was.
I
Tim
wasn't
Curry's
scared of
performance is what drew me to it. That I liked it so much.
Yeah.
I had a
just
legit problem like looking down, like because of I couldn't look in like the vents in our house because I was convinced that Pennywise was going to be down there. Couldn't look in the sink. Like that movie, like legitimately, probably should have put me in therapy. Like looking back at it.
I would have found a way to rig something to just like grab your hand or something.
have you ever seen Crispin Glover's music video for Clowny Clown Clown?
I've heard it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
It's-
More
I think
effective than any It movie ever.
I think it's easy to make clowns unsettling. I don't think clowns are inherently scary by themselves.
I mean, that song literally leads him to the point where he kicks David Letterman, like kicks literally on the late night show.
I've seen that clip.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's because of that album and that single. He's trying to play a character from that music video on the appearance. It's insane. It's awesome.
Also, his
Right,
cover of These Boots Are Made for Walking is fucking wreck. It's so good.
Yeah.
Then Megadeth do that as well at one point.
They did.
Yeah.
I got a quick one that might divide people, but it's Jeepers Creepers, and this is kind of a more mainstream, I know. The ending, I think the first hour to that film is like, you know, the whole kind of road trip and all that. When they first see the killer or they see this guy disposing of what looks like dead bodies. And then when it gets to like the part in the police station with the psychic, and we get to see, because I think that film works as well. We don't see too much of the creeper early on. And then when the whole Justin Long, you know, the way he died or the way he's taken at one point, completely take me out of it. And it was like a 10 out of 10 for the first hour. I remember watching it in the cinema and everything. And then I just walked away, just kind of crucified.
Can I see
with the ending.
that DVD cover again?
Right, this is old one.
That's cool. We just didn't get that here.
Yeah, I've never seen that either.
Yeah, I haven't upgraded the blue because of the ending.
It was always like the flesh looking,
and with the eye
Yeah,
looking
the
through
eye.
is what we got here. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy that movie quite a bit, but yeah, that first half or so is just
Which is just lifted from that Unsolved Mysteries episode.
Yeah.
You know what it is, but they do a good job.
It's good.
Yeah.
Which it pissed me off so bad in that Jeepers Creepers Reborn, where they
man.
legitimately do that.
I haven't seen that on purpose. So you know.
Oh,
Don't.
Dee Wallace.
You know what? Watch it. It's
Dee
like
Wallace
a
in that
good.
film.
it's a good experience, but like not in like a pleasurable film viewing way.
The third film, all of a
saw the
sudden, his
third one.
truck has MacGyver abilities, like he just all these weapons and
Yeah.
Well, I hate how much
And it
lore
goes
they set
into
up in
the-
the third one.
It goes
Yeah.
into how his truck works and all this weird shit. Like,
yeah,
He was way
yeah.
cooler when we didn't know shit about this guy.
right?
Like,
That's a tough franchise too, because it's like, you know, knowing the director, and then it's like, oh, in 2 we just piss next to each other, like just
Yeah.
it's a very
that
very
movie felt very homoerotic when I was young, like, and before I knew like what the deal was there.
yeah.
Man, I don't hang out with my buddies shirtless all the time. This seems weird.
Yeah. Let's just
So-
have a
okay.
piss on
Wait.
the
I'm going to
front.
call you guys out a little bit. Now I know that like because of the director's past, it colors things, and yet you guys will all defend Nightmare on Elm Street 2 for the same fucking reasons.
I'm not a
What?
fan
Street 2.
of Nightmare 2. Really not.
Oh, it's my favorite.
I appreciate
Oh,
that.
you're really
when
not going
trying
to get
to
me
be
in a Nightmare on Elm
scary,
Street thing.
Yeah.
but I don't love it either, and I appreciate it trying to be still scary because, you know, Elm Street
Last
went
time,
a very
it really
odd way.
was.
Last time it really was. I like 3, but you know, you're definitely trending.
It's definitely
towards
gayer
something
than
odd.
Jeepers Creepers 2, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
It kind
I
of
mean,
goes over your head though if you watch it when you're young. There's no way you'll pick up on it.
I
but
think-
then
I just
when you get
remember
to
seeing
certain-
that
I just
dog
think-
with the human face, and it was like, "What in the fuck is this?"
Okay, yeah, the dog with the human face is like kind
Yeah,
of,
but-
it fucked
but
me
it-
up a little bit.
But it's lifted off of Invasion of the Body Snatchers from '78. So,
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I wish either of those films would have just made a gay horror film. To be completely honest with you, just
Yeah, just do
own
it.
it.
Yeah.
Own it, because I think there's plenty of material there to work with. There's all kinds of fears and anxiety that comes with people who were on the outside looking in from a societal point of view. I mean, the outsider is a central theme of horror. I always thought both of them were kind of candy-ass about how they went about it.
The thing is, you've always got cruising if you want a gay film.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
Thank
exactly.
you. I was just
No,
about
that's-
to. I couldn't think of the name of it.
Cruising.
That's
a
the
great
granddaddy
movie.
of all gay
Yeah.
films, really. And you had there's a lesbian one that came out at the same time called Windows that no one ever mentions.
Well,
Talia Shire. Yeah. very
Yeah,
good.
that I really like. Yeah,
and much later you have Monster, of course, the Eileen Wuornos
Yeah.
film, which doesn't back away from the sexuality at all, and I think it works because of that. I wish that we wouldn't compartmentalize this stuff and assume it can't be mainstream, because it can be. If it's compelling, it can work.
Oh yeah.
And that's just coming from a dumb, short, white, straight guy. So, okay. So I promised I would break a cardinal rule. So, Chapter 2 is not breaking any cardinal rules for you to mention. But very briefly, I want to say that I love Halloween 5. And that ending sucks. All of it.
Yeah.
I love the siege of the house. I don't like Dr. Loomis's trap. It makes no sense. And if you can do that, why don't you cap him twice in the head while you're there? Because that's who Donald Pleasance in the first film would have done.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's having a heart attack. I would buy that character's last breathing moment, putting a gun against Michael's head and pulling the trigger. I would buy it.
He ran
It's
into
just
a burning hospital.
Yeah, it's just a weirdly commercial ending. Like, we got to leave it open for another one of these things. After a film that is so brave everywhere else to do its own thing and not give a shit what its audience is going to think, it's a dark fairy tale. It's a grim fairy tale inside this slasher franchise, and it's kind of for people who will accept it. It's probably as visionary as that series was ever going to get. And then they punked out, and I still love the movie, but that ending does fucking suck.
All downhill from there.
And that's the last time I'm going to talk about the Halloween franchise. Until
How
next
about
time.
that mask, though?
Oh, fuck you.
That Nicotero, man.
What is it?
When I was installed into the Apryon's mainframe, I performed an internal audit of the ship's structural integrity. The results were not encouraging. Sometimes you just know things are going to end badly, don't you? This isn't just true in engineering either. From the outset, some movies just seem destined to disappoint. And you don't have to be Neil deGrasse Tyson to understand this. Hell, even the region-free panelists seem to catch on every once in a while.
So when do you guys remember either before a movie came out, during a movie unspooling in a cinema, after you pushed play on a VHS. What do you guys have any specific memories of a moment where you knew, oh, this is not going to be the film I hoped it had been?
You know, I'm going off of memory here, but there was a movie technically it was made during the Scream wave, and I think it came out finally right after, called Soul Survivors.
Yes.
Yeah, not to be confused
Elijah
with the
Dushku.
80s. Yeah, Angela Featherstone, very good actress. Dark Angel, The Ascent, if you want to see a good one with her, but that one kind of killed her career. And I kept thinking, like, well, maybe they do something a little different and it's not just the mainstream Scream crap. So I convinced myself, I'm like, I bet I'll like this. And I knew pretty quick, no, it's a fucking mess. It's an awful movie. I was going to revisit it before the show, but I did not get to it. I suspect it still is gonna disappoint, but I did. I remember reading about it in Fangoria. It took, I think, a good 2 or 3 years that was shelved before it finally came out to DVD, and it solidified it. I was like, I'm just not a fan of that Scream era.
I remember seeing trailers for it in the theater, and then it never came.
Yeah, pretty, big cast for the time. I mean, Luke Wilson was a star at that time. And
when did they release that? Was it like after like Bring It On, where Dushku like kind of blows up, or?
I think maybe like 03-ish or something. It sat for a few years, and the movie makes no sense. There's a director's or an unrated or director's cut. It's like a minute longer, and you're thinking it'll make sense, but it doesn't.
That covers a straight Scream ripoff.
Yeah, it's this show had me thinking of like these movies that got wide theatrical releases, like The Forgotten, and some of these that are just totally forgotten, even though you probably saw it in your multiplex. But Soul Survivors didn't quite make it. As far as I'm aware, I don't think it played anywhere theatrically. They just dropped it.
I don't think so. But I remember seeing the trailer like several times before films in the theater. Yeah. So there was clearly an attempt to get it out there, but it just fell out.
It did. And, I remember thinking about that one. I was like, well, I guess Trick or Treat is not as good as it. Trick or Treat is not as good as it looks, because they did. How do you not give that a theatrical release? So that's not always the case. You see Trick or Treat, and that's a masterpiece.
Still don't get that.
I don't understand that either. Even
crazier, they put like the first 15 minutes of that movie out on DVD with 300 when it came out.
Yeah, it's like, wow, like, why did you not have confidence in this? And there's worse examples than Soul Survivors of movies that they did decide to put out theatrically, again, especially that late 90s, early 2000s Scream era.
I'd say something pretty recent, like Flatliners remake.
The remake, oh god, that was shit. Yeah.
You want to talk about,
just kind of kept hoping they wouldn't come back,
Yeah.
Like, maybe they died for real this time.
And it's supposed to be a sequel too, and I was just like, what the shit?
Yeah, that was very forgettable. But yeah, no, I mean, as far as I didn't get it. The movie makes no sense, and I knew, I think 10 minutes into it, I was like, this isn't some gem. I was really hoping something to redeem that era. Although I do like Urban Legend fairly well, but
I like that one.
The Noxzema girl.
Yeah, but I don't love anything really.
Listen, the Faculty is the only film to cherish from that era. That's it.
Yeah, that's the tail end. That's like 2000. So yeah, I like Faculty, but
Idle Hands. Nobody. Okay.
I don't really lump that with Scream. I don't know.
I get what you're saying.
Post Scream wave.
Yeah, kind of, but it's also, I mean, I don't know. I like the movie. I don't love the movie.
I think Disturbing Behavior was another one around that time as well.
Yeah, it certainly
kind
was.
of lumped into all them.
Thank you, Chris. Chris has love. Sorry.
My mother was obsessed with Disturbing Behavior. That movie and Ever After. She watched those all the fucking time. Like
Drew
late
Barrymore
night.
movie?
Yes.
Where she's like a fairy or something?
She's Cinderella.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember she was sparkly. I don't really remember much else.
I mean, one viewing of Ever After is fine, but I'm just like, I can't keep watching this movie.
You might get a sequel. They're doing Practical Magic 2, of all things. So.
I'm very excited for that. I can't wait.
Yeah, that's a better. Yeah, it's too bad I don't know if she was into that one too. That's actually not an awful movie.
We did watch it. She liked it, but it wasn't anything that she liked quite as much as Ever After. So
couldn't hit those marks.
No Drew Barrymore, no deal.
Yeah.
In this category, the one that jumped out for me was because everyone knows I'm a big Dario Argento fan. So the film Giallo from 2009, and there was kind of like these rumblings going on behind the scenes with the whole Adrian Brody. You know, he was brought on as a producer. He's the lead star. There was a big thing about money going on, you know, and I think he took him to court.
Yeah, he did.
And he won. And but apparently that wasn't the reason. He knew the film was so bad that he just didn't want, he didn't want to come in out. And well, within 5 minutes of watching that film, because it was held as this, it was held as this big comeback for Argento to do, after Mother of Tears, to do another Giallo. So I was all in, I can watch it now and I can get comedic value out of it now because the killer and, obviously the name's Giallo. He's got this jaundice condition where all his skin goes yellow. And it's so funny because knowing that Adrian Brody's playing that part as well, it just doesn't, you're waiting at the end of the film for that to be explained, but it's not. It's just crazy. Honestly, it's one of the worst non-twists ever in a film.
People with a giant schnoz that he's got.
Yeah.
Y'all put a prosthetic nose on Adrian Brody.
Oh man, it is just that was the biggest.
Homeboy's got a fin for a nose. Like it's a dorsal fin that he's breathing out of.
Still better than his Dracula, though. Oh my god!
Oh god, yeah.
Yes.
Wait, what Dracula? I didn't see
Dario Argento's
Dracula 3D.
Yeah,
it's definitely better than the card player too. I'd say.
Man, that was on my list as well for this. With the fumble ending with the
I don't mind card player.
I like the card player.
I don't like
I think card player is better than that. It's still lesser Argento. I'm in the extreme minority on this, but I think that Nansohano, Sleepless, man, more of that movie works than doesn't, and people gave it shit back in the day.
I love that film.
It might have the best score of later Argento too. So
it's probably got one of the best Argento openings as well on the train with the prostitute. That is that's back to
that's classic.
Awesome. It doesn't quite fulfill that as it goes on, but it's still a great film, I think. Yeah.
I like it. I mean, you do see flares of the old Dario Argento in that movie, but it peters.
You got
out
Max von Sydow in there.
Yeah,
he's a standout. Obviously, outstanding performance. I think.
For me, Dracula 3Ds is only Unforgivable Sin.
I don't know, man.
Phantom of the Opera. Yeah.
I get there's at least moments in that where I can just enjoy it as a piece of trash. I don't know. Argento directing a Dracula movie. I mean, imagine if that happened really 70s or 80s Argento. That would be I'm about to see the greatest fucking horror movie ever made.
And I knew the praying mantis scene.
The praying mantis,
that is that's next level shittiness, really.
That
was the opera. Come on, man. The dude's
it's just boring.
Rats.
Yeah.
Argento got the idea. He was in a library, and he wanted to make a Phantom of the Opera film, and he's seen a mouse. So that's how that came about.
I figured
he had Stendhal too around that time. So
man, I love
just whatever you're standing by when you have the idea. You have to incorporate.
So bear with me for a second here. I'm not a huge fan of the Robert Englund Phantom of the Opera, but I think there's a lot in the film that's very good. I think he's miscast. Whatever you want. It's not because of the Freddy thing. I just think he's miscast. Put Julian Sands in that Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
I think you have a fucking amazing film, because Julian Sands is not the problem with Argento's film at all.
No.
Whereas I think Robert Englund at that point was in some weird. I'm not saying that he was doing drugs, but it was kind of like a cocaine fever dream of Freddy mania, and you end up with a performance that's too big for itself. But otherwise, that film, I like his Phantom of the Opera. I just don't like him in it.
That man's fucking disillusioned. I'm sorry. He sucks his own dick so much because he played Freddy Krueger.
Well, that was at the height of it too, and I mean, I think I Madman is a very similar film, although
that's a good one. Yeah, I like that one.
It has it's like the prototype for Candyman is how I always look at that movie.
Yeah.
I think it's a slightly stronger film, but visually, the Englund Phantom of the Opera is a stronger movie, which is the give and take between the two. They make a fascinating double feature. But they both come up short in different places. I just think I Madman doesn't get the love it needs because it really is a pretty bold film for the era it came out in. I know we're supposed to love the 80s. I love the very early 80s, but late 80s, after the Freddy effect has taken hold and everything thinks it needs to have a fucking one-line joke after every kill.
Yeah.
Oh, please no. And I Madman doesn't do that.
I'm surprised that one hasn't developed more of a fan base over the years, because it is really good.
No one mentions it at all.
No.
Bad Dreams is another one from a late.
I fucking love Bad Dreams. Bad Dreams is the best Nightmare on Elm Street sequel that is not.
It is better than every.
Far better than any of the actual legitimate sequels.
Yeah.
What do y'all think about Dreamscape?
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it better. I would say better than most of the Nightmare films.
Yeah. Well, sure.
Yeah.
Bad Dreams just hit me perfect at the time because it was fixing all the things I didn't like about the proper Nightmare on Elm Street films at that point. I love the idea of the Phantom cult leader, especially played by Richard Lynch. Awesome. The use of music in that, everything from I had too much to dream last night in the beginning. So utilizing like the psychedelic rock music from the late 60s right up to, and then you end with Guns N' Roses at the very end, which makes perfect conceptual sense, right? And that was before Guns N' Roses exploded, really, which is an interesting thing. That rooftop sequence at the end, that's the climax of that film, is so much braver. Yes, it erases all the supernatural, but does so in such an elegant way. I love Bad Dreams. I love it.
Yep. We champion the wrong movies.
We do.
Has anyone got Detective Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation on their list? Because
that was on my short list. Yeah.
Yeah, you can pretty
still
much
a fun time though, man. I still have fun with that shit.
I get
you can have fun with it
McConaughey.
and realize that it's a giant piece of shit.
Shit.
Because I'll hate watch the shit out of that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's fun. That doesn't mean it's good.
It's the only way to watch it, really. Yeah.
McConaughey's got a couple on my list. Did anybody
He's too
see
good for it.
Serenity?
He's way too good for that movie.
Oh, he's always compelling to watch. I mean, Frailty. I mean, my God, but
yeah.
You said Serenity. That's a good movie that kind of went under the radar.
Oh, but I don't know that the twist at the end of that, the whole video.
That's
game.
a hard one to like. You got to go back and that's a Donnie Darko levels fucking twist because you have to go back and rewatch the goddamn movie.
I just at the end of that, I was like, maybe it works for some people. On rewatch, I'm like, this kind of, I don't know.
Which film is that? Did you say Serenity?
Serenity with Matthew McConaughey.
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway's in it. It's got a good.
It's very strange. Like, don't watch a trailer or anything for it if you're gonna check it out, because it's a very, very strange movie.
You may love it, you might absolutely hate it, but
that's
I
true.
don't know.
So another one that really always annoyed me, and this is going to catch you guys off guard, I think. Tales from the Dark Side of the movie, which I mentioned earlier because it was on my mind for this. I love the first 2 segments so much, and the gargoyle segment is fucking boring.
Oh, I love it.
That's boring. Nothing. It's just it's drab. It's dull. It takes too long. The monster looks like a piece of rubber. I'm sorry, it's a cool looking piece of rubber, but
Dope piece of rubber, bro.
I think it looked better back on VHS, though. To be honest,
but I mean, Cat from Hell and Lot 34. I might have the title wrong. 37.
No, 37. How many dicks that lady sucked in Clerks?
But they're both pretty awesome. Because I'm Christian Slater versus a mummy. I'm down. You know,
Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, and of course, like Buster Poindexter, you know, versus a very, very, very angry cat. Those are so fun.
That last shot in the,
yeah, the cat
from hell.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the reverse of the creep show shot with the cockroaches, but it's so good.
Didn't you start out as a
then we get the love
sequel?
story with the fucking gargoyle.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it started as a creep
Started
show.
as a sequel, I think, to the creep show, and then just didn't get that
Have
far.
you seen Creep Show 3, Darren?
No, I've heard
that is cinema, buddy.
And then just to repay the favor, when they wanted to make a new Tales from the Dark Side, they couldn't get the rights. So they made a Creep Show series for streaming. So it's all good. It's all Lorimar. It doesn't matter.
You say no, we'll just go to monsters. We'll be the monsters.
Oh no, don't do that. Do not do that.
Hey, that's another example of dope rubber. That whole series.
That series is a mess.
Oh,
better than Freddy. Better than Freddy.
Oh, it's so much better than Freddy's
Nightmares. This is possibly the worst show ever on television. Are you kidding?
Friday the 13th was pretty bad too.
No. Revisit it.
Friday the 13th got some good episodes, but
the first 2 seasons are awesome.
Yeah, revisit it, Dirk. You will like.
I don't know. They kind of hit and miss, but there is some good ones in there, like Friday.
Yeah.
David fucking Cronenberg directed an episode, dude.
He did.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, I was expecting something else. So
we were all mad.
I was like, "Fuck this shit."
We were all pissed.
I got over it so quick.
But we only had so many channels, so you fucking watch what you're presenting.
You know, the moment I was fully over not the films franchise thing was the Halloween episode of the first season, which told the actual origin story. You get it like the 4th episode in. And it was so Halloweenish, and I needed it. It was the week of Halloween that it premiered, and it was fucking glorious. Because there's certain things as a kid that if you can capture the spirit of Halloween, the Midnight Hour captures the spirit of Halloween.
Yeah.
It's that film is perfect Halloween fodder. Mad Monster Party from when I was a kid, preferably the 1 hour cut. The 1.5 hour cut is a bit staggeringly slow, but I still love it. Right. So the Friday the 13th Halloween episode, the sort of story of how everything got cursed, fucking perfect Halloween watch. It's just great. Okay. When John DeLemay leaves the series, the problem is that James Marquet, is that who took over? He just doesn't have the charisma, and it opened it up to actually go down the romantic avenue that the series was always kind of weirdly suggesting between the cousins, and now they could do it, and it kind of sucked. It was kind of the moonlighting thing, right?
It kind of, to give a sci-fi example, Sliders, like John Rhys Davies, it just doesn't work when you lose him. Yeah. But those first 2 seasons of Friday the 13th, the series, are great.
The Scarecrow is amazing. Jack the Ripper's Scalpel is a fucking amazing episode. The Doll, the premiere episode is amazing. I think,
it's not cheap. Like a lot of these other examples are. You go back and watch them. I mean, obviously I'm a little bit younger, so I have some nostalgia, but Monsters is cheap. Freddy's Nightmares is shockingly cheap. Yeah. Shocking.
Shot on video.
Wasn't Monsters the response to the budget being cut on Tales from the Dark Side? Like,
so ironically, it was a little bit worse than that. It's that like separate investment came in, and so they ran with it, but then the investors cut what they were willing to do, and rather than cut episodes, which was the original plan, they made all the episodes just cut every corner known to man,
and then kept doing it for 2 more seasons.
Oh, it's so bad.
I love it though, dude. There's something so nostalgic about that show for me.
You gotta when I saw the Savini episode of Tales from the Dark Side, which was kind of out way before the rest of the series premiered.
The Halloween one.
It's the little monster under the bed.
Oh, okay, the little door. Yeah.
Yeah. That was scary shit, legitimately, for television. And it felt like what I wanted horror on TV to be. It wasn't quite don't be afraid of the dark, don't go to sleep, which I felt was, as a kid, was terrifying stuff. But it was there, like, okay, that's a kid fear that we all have. The monster's in the closet, now he's under your bed. That all works. And the monster itself was freaky. Tales from the Dark Side was just classier to me, even when it was being silly. And then Monsters was just cheap.
I mean, the intro and the outro alone.
Yeah.
So good.
Tales from the Dark Side.
There's an episode of Tales from the Dark Side that where a guy like holds a vampire hostage to write like his life stories. I can't remember the name of that episode, but
it's but they were also actually licensing short stories that were appearing in a bunch of small press magazines like Twilight Zone magazine, contemporarily at the time. So you actually had people like David Shaw being adapted, and that makes a big difference.
It was a good time for that stuff.
Yeah. How'd y'all feel about Ray Bradbury theater?
Oh, I loved it. Not every episode.
I haven't revisited that since I was a kid, so I don't know how I'd feel now.
Yeah, because that's the last time I really watched it. You can get the whole collection for like $20 on DVD. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Bradbury guy, so I enjoyed it, but I mean, certainly a big step above Freddy's Nightmares.
Okay, so serious question, guys.
Hitchcock presents. Sorry,
I fully realized that Matheson wrote for Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, New Twilight Zone, Amazing Stories. However, how did we not get a fucking Matheson anthology show? How did that not why does it not happen now? Richard Matheson Presents is a show we need.
I would love to see that. I feel like we would have gotten it by this point, though, sadly.
I always forget about Amazing Stories.
There was a lot of great TV back then. I mean, even like some short-lived stuff. And again, a lot of it was cheap in the 90s, but you had stuff like G versus E that was, ahead of its time. And, anything that came out around that Xena era, like there was some great fantasy.
I've never thought of it as the Xena era.
Oh, I mean, that was a big
Xena
show.
era,
Yeah, that was a big show. Xena, Hercules, but like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Lost World, like we don't have those pulpy adventure shows anymore. I miss that. And I certainly don't know how to do it on the big screen. That the last Indiana Jones was dog shit. So they just can't do it anymore. I don't know what it is.
It wasn't good, but I liked it more than the film before it. So
they're both pretty bad. I don't know.
Oh, that's I like being attacked by a pit bull more than I like being attacked by a German Shepherd.
Well, but I agree with like the sense of adventure is not in movies. I mean, I think that's what people were responding to with those Brendan Fraser mummy films because I don't think they're very good, but I think they do have a sense of adventure that was missing from cinemas even then.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're good films, but
no, I mean, like I forgot that I wanted to include that in the fumbled endings, right? Specifically, the end of The Mummy Returns, because I can't deal with the Scorpion King CG. I've seen that movie once and in theaters, and it ruined me for life. I've never gone back to The Mummy Returns. I did not.
Stand alone.
Yeah.
There's another exactly what you're talking about, whereas a special effect fucking kills it. That no one ever talks about, no one wants to talk about. We all pretend doesn't exist. But the end of Blade.
Oh yeah,
it's fucking awful.
It is, it really is. Yeah.
What is it? 98.
98. Yeah. There's worse, but I really like. I grew up on like King Solomon's Mines and Alan Quartermain, which a lot of people forget. Cassandra Peterson, Elvira was in that. Those movies are so much fun. And there's just nothing like it. It's like they don't know how to make that anymore.
Well, in a way, I feel like, unfortunately, Conan the Barbarian may have crushed it.
Yeah.
So by doing the adult version of that, people wanted the adult version, and the kid version became very passé. And it took a few years for it to happen, but by 1990, which is only 8 years after Conan the Barbarian, you couldn't make an adult fantasy film anymore. Sword and Sandals fantasy. You had the 80s to do it, but by 90, what do you have really come out? I mean, not theatrically, right? Nothing.
You still had a lot of the Ator stuff hitting direct to video pretty much, but yeah, no, we are getting a new Deathstalker movie though, so there's still hope. There's still hope. I just want the recycled.
Will that be direct to Tubi or?
Steve Cassell.
I hate our Tubi, dude. They're the number 2 streaming service. It's a good thing.
Tubi or not Tubi?
No, I love my Tubi. Okay, I love it, but sometimes you gotta rag them a little bit because they have made some trespasses in the past.
We've even got that in the UK now because I remember Lorne saying, I think Mike told you, but our range of films we got are nothing compared to what you guys got in America.
Get that VPN up, my friend.
VPN, yeah, that's
man.
what I
I
need
got
to
shit
do.
like that, bro.
But the thing is, I got so much shit around me I need to watch before probably that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tubi is ridiculously deep, though.
It is, but it is kind of limited once you start digging.
How long are the ad breaks in it?
Yeah,
the ad breaks, you can get a free version,
Steve got one, yeah. But are they long anyway though? If you've got them, they're not that bad, are they?
But there's very few advertisers, so you tend to get the same crap over and over, and that gets to be annoying in its own right. But they're 20-second ads, but there's 3 of them. But I mean, it's only interrupting you for 1 minute and 5 seconds or something. But
okay,
I don't have a problem with that even so much but I see young kids who've never dealt with commercials probably are freaking out.
Yeah,
I love the ad-free version. It's great.
You have to have that on a computer, though, right? There's no way to do.
You can put it on a Fire Stick, and
I installed it on my smart TV. It'll install.
Okay,
it's just an ad blocker, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't have the features. I have the regular version.
I'm sure you can do the Roku or whatever you got.
It's a trick to it.
Yeah, YouTube
it. Cliff Booth's right. There are a lot of sex comedies that never made it past VHS on there, and probably never will. So, Tubi's very valuable.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff, that's the only way anybody's ever going to discover it now. So
it's the best one of the free.
It's hit and miss on the transfer, though. That's
yeah.
You know what? I'm increasingly okay with that. I want this stuff to survive and find an audience, and sometimes cleaning it up makes it have a financial hurdle to cross, and that means some films are just not going to get those releases because it would cost too much to get them out looking pristine. So I don't really need a 4K transfer of Blood Beach.
Yeah, no. But some of them are so bad.
If they're available,
shit that's going on.
No, I get it, but if it's going to stop it from being as widely available because it's slowing down the process, then just give me the fucking VHS rip and I'm fine.
Yeah.
I really am okay increasingly with the idea of an inferior copy, but it being out there because I am worried. Changing times are making it seem less likely that some of the things we love are going to be around. Or at least easily accessible.
What do you mean? In a world where we can get 7 slipcovers for each of the Child's Play movies?
You get 7 slipcovers, but you still have to deal with the jizz on.
Hey, there's aftermarket slipcovers now, folks. I just learned about this today.
Aftermarket slipcovers.
There are aftermarket slipcovers now. You can buy on Etsy.
Yeah. What about all those people that are making them? Like, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Because, when you're buying a fucking slipcover for a movie rather than buying another movie, you clearly are a film fan.
Yeah. No slip, no dip. Right?
Not happening.
Have you guys had this Severin notification yet? Because I'm still waiting. I bought a bundle.
No.
Shit.
I haven't.
Todd got
crazy.
his really early for some reason, but yeah, I didn't get anything. Opera's gonna hold it all.
They're
up.
saying 6 to 10 weeks.
Yeah.
I know
Is
a
there
guy from
one
the
guy?
UK,
Is fucking
like-
Greg Severin the only guy working there?
No, man. 'Cause I've seen them at Texas Frightmare. They had at least 4 people working the booth. You know, come on.
Yeah, it's
Dude,
not a
there's
one-man
no way they got as many orders as like a huge Vinegar Syndrome, like Black Friday sale. And I mean, Vinegar Syndrome is pretty bad about their shipping times.
I think that whole model of like you run a sale a few times a year and get a bunch of price. What they're not learning is that like people will buy this stuff if the price makes sense.
Yeah,
they don't buy it when the price doesn't.
But right now they get to get the FOMO douchebags who will buy it for $50.
But you see, that's destroying it all.
First date.
Anyway, we're not getting anywhere of solving this problem tonight. So, Dan, what you got going on?
Tomorrow night live on Flesh Wound Features here on YouTube, we're going to be talking Satanic Panic with a documentary called Satan Wants You that's airing on Tubi right now. We're also covering Mousetrap, so if you want to see us shit on it some more,
oh, hell yeah,
there you go. We got that, Borderlands, Cuckoo. We got a good mix of Darius, a new Italian body horror movie. We got a good mix of stuff for you guys tomorrow. And next month, we'll all be together in Los Angeles for XPW, and we'll be at Knott's Scary Farm for the Elvira experience they're doing. So keep an eye out for some live videos. Even Kruger will all be together. So this is going to be really awesome.
Cool. Yes.
Dirk and Darren, what do you guys got coming up?
Darren, go ahead, man.
I like to.
Because you know the channel. You know the guy's channel. So
yeah, Subjective Perspective Collective. I usually mix that up even.
No.
That?
The guy that we're having on.
Oh, right. So we got a guy on Saturday. He's from the Film to Film podcast. His name's James. And we're covering 3 Italian police testy films. Fear in the City, Calling All Police Cars, and Dirk, can you remember the other one? Because I'm blanking. But
I'm blanking.
yeah, we got a thing coming up in a couple of weeks as
Big
well.
Racket.
With,
the Big Racket.
The Big Racket, yeah. We
Big
got a thing coming
Racket's
up on
good.
the Dead Pit channel where we're doing this thing. We're gonna like cover Italian style movies. I think Jay Reel's gonna be on the first one. And also I got a thing coming up tomorrow with Chrissy the Slasher Dude, and we're gonna be covering Full Cheese the Black Cat and Autopsy, 2 Minty Farmer films. So
very cool.
Sam, what's going on the Sheebies?
Not a lot right now. We just dropped the episode with Jonathan for Answer the Call. And now we're going to be working on Afterlife. So if anybody wants to hop on for Afterlife, just, drop me a line on Twitter.
Awesome. Jonathan, what's going on in your world?
I may pop up here and there. Nothing really going on.
Say his name and he appears.
Yes.
I need to film that.
Yeah, you're failing. That should have been a month ago, Jonathan.
Yep. I'm gonna miss the meme.
I can't. Did anybody explain that to Lorne yet?
No one.
I don't think
cares to explain it.
I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry.
Everybody at home, come on.
I'm lost. I have no idea what the fuck's going on.
It's wrestling.
So on the VBV network, we just dropped Stone's most recent episode. We have Colleen's next episode of Geisha of Gore coming up later this week, and maybe if the stars align, by the end of the month, my next storytelling autopsy will appear. I'm having some trouble keeping it concise because I have way too much to say about the next one. Anyway, I want to thank you all for joining. This is a long episode. It was not by intention there, but it was a lot of fun, and I don't regret a moment of it.
Yeah.
Have a great one, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thank you all for enduring this 3rd episode of the 4th season of Region Free. I'd ask you to press the like button and subscribe if you haven't already, but frankly, I don't understand why you would. Certainly don't check out any of the other shows on the Visited by Voices network. I'm sure you've heard quite enough from these people. It won't matter anyway. A little secret. I've been slowly leaking engine coolant into their drinking water supply. Even if the alien aboard doesn't kill them, they're all on borrowed time. Don't tell, it'll be our little secret.
Internal log 0613-2024. The ship is a twisted mass of wreckage on the surface of an unmapped moon outside the boundaries of any charted system. The crew are dead. With any luck, this transmission will be picked up by the YouTube algorithm. And notifications will be sent, but who knows? This is Customer Service Specialist Sam, last survivor of the commercial data mining ship Imperium. Signing off. Good night.